Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 397th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings. Joining me on the call, crack panel on crack, maybe, who knows, wouldn't put it past them. Ozzy Smith's here, Andy Patterson as well. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. I can hear myself coming back here. This is a bit unprofessional from Wellings, isn't it? I've got it open on YouTube on the laptop as well. So I'm hearing me coming back and feeding back to myself. Apologies about that, everybody. Going live on YouTube in my house from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. Patreon, RSS feed, updates shortly after. And you can find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Does anybody use Spotify? Do you use Spotify, Andy?
The wife does anyway. I think she's got a premium account to it and that as well. So I didn't personally use it. No, I mean, I tell you what, I hate using it for listening to music and stuff like that. See, YouTube. That is an absolute nightmare for especially on your phone and that, because it's every song you go to that there's like 2 adverts, and it just does my brain in. And of course, every half hour you then get a prompt to ask if you want to go YouTube Premium. You're like, you wankers.
Yeah, a British boxing blog says it's all about Spotify, and Matthew Russell says SoundCloud. Don't want to forget about SoundCloud either. Let's have a look through the chat, see who's knocking about there, shall we? Mr. Jones talking about Wilder, Coogan's water bills hanging around. Shout out to Take Ames. He was here with us last night. Sir Palooka Pete, Teddy Pisser, Rob Barnett is back with a vengeance. Jim McDonald boxing. Ian Wigley, Celtic Spirit, good to see you. Niall M, Carpet Paul. Who else have we got here as well? Any new names? David Grice. Hello, David. Younger. Danny Young was on with us last night. Post-fight pod. It's on YouTube. About 11,000 views or so at the moment. People seem to be responding and enjoying that type of content. Gary Kavanagh as well. John Wayne. TMG. Just floating on up here. James Windsor's going to listen to us tomorrow. Listen to us tonight too if you want, James. Double the action. Paver as well's here too. Let's get on with it then, shall we? So like I said, we did a post-fight pod last night on Usyk Chisora, so the majority of it would have been covered there, so go back and listen to that. We're going to cover it briefly for the first half an hour of this episode 397, before we go on to Inoue, bit of Santa Cruz, looking ahead to next week. Tons of Bellew of the weeks. First of all, Andy, you've made your feelings known last night, obviously on the post-fight pod, but now that dust has settled, maybe gone back and watch the fight again, maybe not. Maybe a bit of Bellew rage floating through, who knows. Usyk Chisora, Andy, any observations that you didn't make last night? Anything that you're thinking?
No, I've not watched it back yet, mate, to be honest with you. I was catching up with Munguia and the Inoue fight and Davis and stuff like that this morning and just not had time to kind of watch it back and that. Not really got much else to add in that. I mean, obviously, as we said last night, Chisora just did what he usually does. He plods forward, lunged from time to time, switched southpaw to try and kind of, vary it up a wee bit and stuff. But ultimately, even though he tested Usyk at points and stuff, it just wasn't enough. I thought Usyk was in the main eight was dominant. 170, 111, I think I had it. People look at it and they're obviously going to think, size matters. So that's the old saying. He's not got the power as well, apparently. As I said last night, Fury, I think, would definitely beat him. I know Ozzy might be different for me, that I think he believes Usyk would probably handily beat Joshua. I think he could beat Joshua, but I just think he would have a wee bit of an issue, probably with Joshua's natural size. I know he can gas and that, but he has got a decent dig on him, left hook, and he does kind of throw uppercuts on the inside and stuff. I don't know if he might be as gun shy, but then again, Usyk's as I said last night, he was 217 pounds. Gave up the best part of 40 pounds, probably 50 pounds to Chisora. What's AJ going about it these days? 250, 260. He might come down lower than that because he came in lower for the Ruiz fight, didn't he, for movement purposes and stuff. I think it would be interesting actually to see what Joshua would weigh for a type of fight like that. I mean, for what I've seen for Usyk this morning anyway, he was talking to Coogan and stuff. Hopefully Coogan's got some water with him, by the way, all the best Coogan. Usyk was basically saying that he will not take money to step aside. He wants his title fight next and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after. Again, I mentioned it last week. The politics now are going to start coming into play here. So it's going to be interesting I will say the next 3-4 months and stuff to see basically what Joshua does. Obviously, when Fury's got his obligations and stuff, but Joshua's got 3 belts, 2-3 belts and stuff. He might have to start vacating if he's just solely wanting to kind of get the Fury fight while the iron's hot, so to speak, or if he's wanting to kind of wait until we get fans back, which is got a never-ending date. So it's up to him, I suppose. But I think Usyk will probably be a man of his word, and he'll basically kind of push. I think he's going to push for his title fight, and he will not accept money to step aside, I think, this time.
Ozzy, the boys are calling for a Dave Allen rant from you. We'll go to that shortly. I will just say while it comes into my head, though, I actually missed Allen last night. I think him fighting that big Mr. Blobby would have actually been quite a fun spectacle. So I think the card was all the poorer for us not being able to see old Dave Allen. Jason Chukwu says Okoli rapes Usyk at heavyweight. Well, I mean, quite literally, you know what Okoli's like. Terry Woodfine came in with a question, Ozzy. Let me see if I can get it up on the screen here for you. Not so much a question as a rant, I suppose, really. He says, why are paying fans continuously getting fighters' mates being part of the punditry team on Sky? Derek did better than expected, but are his emotional mates telling the live viewing public that Derek won because he lasted the 12 rounds? They're then arguing on IFL saying they hold no influence and this is just their opinion. That is a complete cop-out, says Terry. They know the audience and how many of them have no idea what they're watching. The fact is that they have a job to do and it should be done correctly, not in order to bring Derek back in 2021 in another pay-per-view with a Sky pre-built storyline. The only two people calling it straight were Macklin and Froch. Froch seems to be the only person on the Sky team who says it for what it is, and his opinion can't be bought. He summed it up lovely at the end of the broadcast about Chisora. A bit of a lengthy but passionate rant stroke question from Terry there. I made my feelings known last night, completely sober, on Tony Bellew. He says he's got a job to do there, Ozzy. I've responded to Terry's question, obviously, but he says he's got a job to do, Bellew. But, I mean, it's not his opinion, is it? He is influencing people, and it is his mates.
It's exactly that. It's not an opinion. And, well, it is an opinion, of course it is, but it's a biased opinion as well. I mean, he says he's been friends with Chisora for 17 years now. So naturally, that's going to, sway what you think. Dave Caldwell admitted straight after, later on, when the show had closed, that he allowed his heart to rule his head. And that's because he was close to Chisora as well. And this is what it is. And I keep saying the majority of pundits on Sky aren't there to call it fair. The salesman, that's pre-fight, during the fight and post-fight as well. We've criticised commentary pretty much every week now because it's like we're blind and they try and tell you they'll tell you what they want you to see, what you can actually see. And I've said it before, you find yourself thinking am I seeing this right because of what they're saying? And I replied to a couple of tweets Matthew Macklin put out last night, and I said I thought he called it spot on, and he wasn't lured in by what. Look, I know there was no crowd in there, but I'd say that 90% of the people in that arena were rooting for Chisora, and it was loud. You could hear Bellew, you could hear Caldwell, and it'd have been easy for him to be swayed. But he didn't, and he called it right. And he said, look, just because Chisora did something different or did better than expected doesn't mean we can just, give him rounds. And that's quite right. Just because somebody does better than expected doesn't mean they deserve to get rounds. Chisora had a first decent 2. But then I thought Alexander Usyk settled, and I thought it was pretty comfortable for him. I didn't see it and thought he looked, uneasy. I mean, for Bellew, I think he had Chisora 5-1 up after 6 rounds. That's a disgrace. And
he did 5-2 at one point.
Yeah, 5-2. 5-2 after 7 rounds. We hear this bullshit all the time of basically, from boxers. If you've not boxed, basically you don't, your opinion doesn't count. I hear stuff like that, and that he had Chisora 5-2 up after 7 rounds, and I just think, what the fuck are you watching? And it's because he is swayed by pure bias and nothing else, and it's a joke, and it becomes frustrating because, like I said, they're there to, like you're more, the boxing fans that watch the sport, like week in week out. They're not lured in. However, the more casual fans, the amount of messages I had yesterday of people saying, does Chisora have a chance? And they were sending me bets of this is a good price, Chisora inside 3 or inside 5. And I went, absolutely not. I went, keep your money, because I went, that is not going to happen. And they replied, well, Sky seems to think he's got a good chance. I went, Sky are salesmen, they ain't got a fucking clue at times. And like I said, when I'm getting text messages like that, it clearly works. Their opinion is valued by viewers. And it's because, and like I said, people, if you don't challenge it, they'll just keep going. I wonder if something's been said, because I felt that in the past couple of weeks, Macklin and Adam Smith have certainly called it as it should be, rather than, swaying to the home fighter. where, you know, I get it's going to be slightly biased, but not all the time. And they've been completely different. So I don't know if something has been said. And Froch, he can't score a fight. He loves a 10-10 round, but I think what he comes out with, I think his opinions are quite good. And I do wonder if that's why he doesn't get as much airtime anymore, because he says stuff that people don't want to hear. And last night he was basically calling. He said he refused to be drawn in on the scoring for I think it was the Campbell fight. He just said, "Look, I'm sick of talking about scoring. I just want to talk about, you know, look, the right man won. Unfortunately, it was great. It was, you know, that was the right decision, because the amount of times we've been speaking about dodgy cards, it's unreal." So a couple of things have changed, but yeah, it was right. I don't know. Look, people pay for the opinions. Pay for the overall broadcast. It's up to Sky who they select, but we see it more and more often now. People are picked on their relationships close to the fighters and not on their knowledge.
Well said, Ozzy. We shall return to this point shortly, no doubt. In the meantime, delighted to have heavyweight prospect George Fox on the call with us tonight. How are you keeping, George?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's good to be on.
Absolutely, great to have you with us there. We're just talking a bit of Alexander Usyk, Derek Chisora, actually. Did you get a chance to watch the fight last night? If so, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I watched the fight. I had interesting company. Watched it with Tyson and Sugar Hill. Yeah, it was a good, you know, it was a good fight, entertaining fight. Derek brought a lot of pressure. It was a lot messier than I anticipated. I knew he'd have to turn it into a fight, but for me, there were just a few fundamental errors that stopped him from getting the W.
Yeah, obviously it was all about Usyk. You know, he took the punch, the pressure, the strength of a proper heavyweight. Do you think he passed the test to a certain degree? How do you think he'll fare at heavyweight now after we've seen this?
To be fair, no disrespect to Derek. Obviously, Derek is a top 10 heavyweight. Unfortunately for him, in the big fights, he's always just come up short. Regarding Usyk, I think Derek, even though of course he's a big man in terms of, you know, his like the depth of him and whatever else, but he's not, you know, he's still like a 6'1" heavyweight. He's not your Anthony Joshua, your Furies. I don't personally think that Usyk has enough size to deal with some of the bigger boys in that division, but like your Michael Hunters, maybe he'll be all right against Chisora's, possibly Dillian White, but against the big boys, I don't think he can box him.
Yeah, there's like different tiers to the heavyweight. Like you say, he's gone up. He's fought Chisora, but he's even on the small side, as you say, Hunter as well, compared to the big behemoth. So he sort of needs that second tier step up as well, Usyk maybe.
Exactly. I'd even think he'd have problems with people like Hrgovic. I reckon the size of those guys would cause him a lot of issues. Because I know it's a few years ago now, but I remember watching him fight Joe Joyce in the amateurs and took quite a shot as well. But look, we'll see. It's one test him and just have to see how he progresses from here.
Yeah, you mentioned there obviously watching the fight with Tyson and Sugar Hill. Tyson's been in the ring a couple of times with Derek over the years, obviously without breaking any confidence or anything. Was there an overriding sort of feeling from the lads about how the Chisora-Usyk fight went?
Yeah, I mean, we're all supporting Derek, you know, the British fighter. There's a lot of history there. Myself, my dad trained Derek for the 12, 13 years. You know, Tyson's had 2 fights with him and knows him personally. So we're all in his corner. We're all, you know, cheering him on, supporting him to get the job done. Obviously, Usyk made the necessary adjustments and won the fight. It was I think it was a lot closer than people think. Even though Usyk was the one landing a lot of the cleaner shots, Derek did get uncomfortable there for him.
Yeah, Derek did a pretty good job. Maybe they'll stick him back in. Who knows? You mentioned your dad there, George. Obviously, you're the son of highly respected trainer, former 2-time podcast guest, Don Charles. Tell us a bit about your history in boxing, training with your dad over the years.
Yeah, I mean, boxing's always been in the family. Funny enough, when I was a young kid, you know, I was lazy, proper lazy. Wasn't in the gym. I mean, I grew up around boxing. I was always going to the fights. I was around the gym, but I wasn't, you know, training properly. I would say to the age of like 14, 15, and I started to get into it a bit more. And yeah, like my father is your trainer. I look up to him. I respect him, and I complete trust faith in his decisions and his mentoring on me. So yeah, we've got a good partnership.
Just slightly lost you a bit there, George. Might be a connection issue. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. The signal, unfortunately, up in Morecambe here, the signal's not too good for me, but I'm trying to get by.
Now, the guys in the chat are enjoying hearing from you and that, so it'd be a shame if it cuts out, but we'll battle on through like Derek did indeed last night. Tell me about your career then, obviously 3-0 at the moment. Has it been stop-start? When do you anticipate being back in the ring? Obviously, it's been stop-start for everybody with the current situation.
Yeah, it's been massively stop-start. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get a lot of consistency going on, but we've got some news that we're about to announce shortly that I can't leak just yet, but we'll be signing with a major promotional label, and hopefully that will give me the platform to have regular outings, because I need some consistency. It's no good fighting once every 7 months, 8 months. I'd like to, be fighting every couple months, 4 or 5 times a year. So yeah, we've got some news coming, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds.
Brilliant stuff. We'll be keeping an eye out for that anyway. So without specifically calling out any heavyweights or anything, there's obviously lads you'll be keeping an eye on around your level, guys who are just ahead of you. What's your thoughts on the current crop of domestic heavyweights?
I mean, look, there's a lot of fighters coming through, a lot of big lads, a generation, call it AJ inspired, Fury inspired. There's a lot of big lads, coming through the ranks, doing well. They're all on their own journey. I can only focus on my own path, and it's one of those ones where my education I've had in boxing, I've done numerous rounds with Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury. I've mixed it with a lot of the top people, Joe Joyce, and for me, it's about creating my chapter now. So I'm not gonna hold back my kind of character that I am, like, without being too lippy or too arrogant. I'm looking to fight, some of the best people in the country in the division, and I won't be, cowering away from any challenges. So now I believe it's my time to shine.
You've been quite vocal about a guy who's appeared on the Matchroom undercards, Alan the Savage Babbage. He looks like a bit of a circus act to me at the moment. What's the score there?
Yeah, I mean, straight up, there's no point being around the bush. I've been having this talk with Tyson as well. He's been giving me tips, but no 6'1" heavyweight will beat me. I'll tell you that for a fact. It's not. I grew up in the gym, watching Derek doing some rounds with him, and I just feel like smaller heavyweights, I understand, what they're trying to the table. Heavyweights that like to hook a lot, I don't believe they bring, any problems. And Babbage in particular, I mean, credit to him, he's beating what's in front of him, he's growing his reputation. But I would love the chance to fight him. I think once we announce the news that I'm going to announce, I'll have a couple of fights, and then hopefully we can start looking at some matches of bigger magnitude. That's going to catch some people's eyes in the division.
Yeah, that should be something to look forward to. Just to remind our listeners, we have heavyweight prospect George Fox on the call. A few more questions for George on this Sunday evening. Any social media presence you want to make the guys aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the main platform to follow me on is Instagram. My @ is GFoxBoxing. That's GFoxBoxing, and you can follow my story on there. And I'm just looking forward to giving fight fans good fights, bringing some like a skill set that I don't believe a lot of heavyweights have. I believe for a big man, I'm pretty agile. I can counter punch well. I would like to say I'm quite good on the eye in terms of maybe not so handsome, but at least a boxing style. But yeah, that's it. That's the best platform to follow me on, and I would love you guys to follow my journey and just see how everything unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to how it unfolds. You've been doing plenty of sparring and training with Tyson Fury. You mentioned Sugar Hill, which is class really, because he's got that sort of Kronk lineage, that link to the past. We've got, Emmanuel Stewart, who we're big fans of on the podcast here. How's it been going training with Tyson?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, this experience has been amazing. I was part of it was pretty good. I was out for 9 weeks. But for me, this has been better. The reason being, Sugar, that was Sugar's first camp with Tyson. So a lot of the focus was on implementing that Kronk style. This time round, I'm in Morecambe as opposed to Vegas. Vegas is a lot of distractions. There's a big, there's things going on. It's the biggest fight of his life. Here, I've had time to just, knuckle down and be, for lack of any other word, more intimate with those guys and take on as much information as possible. And I think what's in, like you said, with the Kronk style, it's a proper big man style, with Tommy Hearns, Lennox, Vlad, like just establishing yourself, establishing your jab, and using your height. Being a 6'7" heavyweight myself, it's been a great learning curve for me.
What's it like sparring with Tyson? What does he do so well?
Yeah, like again, hand on heart, a lot of fighters that you don't kind of realize what you're against until you're in there. The same thing used to happen with Mayweather, and everyone used to fancy the chances, and then they get in the ring, and it seems to unfold differently. And I think Tyson is definitely undervalued. I mean, obviously with his big wins, he's starting to be appreciated now, but he's for me levels above anything else I've sparred, and that's just the God honest truth. His boxing IQ is very high, very very slippery, hard to land a clean punch on. He's got a very good tempo as well for heavyweight, good cardio, and yeah, he's a top heavyweight, top technician, and he's got numerous game plans as well. I think that's what separates him from a lot of fighters. With this new Kronk style now, he's a lot more efficient, learning to impose his size on people, but he's also got the fast flick jabs, the feints, good head movement, so he brings a lot to the table.
Obviously, Tyson had the 2 fights with Deontay Wilder. Deontay's been going off on one on social media a little bit, talking about dodgy gloves, a bit of an accusation against Fury there. Is he bitter, deluded? What's up with Deontay? Why is he doing this, do you think, George?
Yeah, for me, it's disappointing. I mean, like, obviously, we were there for the second fight and involved in all the preparations, and everything was done professionally. And he would have thought by now he would have, taken the loss, accepted it. Like, the first thing, anything in life, you've got to, maybe you can have where you're grieving or you're upset, disappointed, but in order to put forward, you need to put things to bed and be accountable. That's the main thing as a man. Especially as a fighter, you have to be accountable for your own mistakes. And I think, looking for all these sort of excuses is a bit ridiculous. And I've seen a lot of the posts. The funny thing is, a lot of the posts with the floppy gloves, if you actually look, it's the shorts from the first fight, so it's not even from the second fight. And there's all these things, so it's all a bit mad, to be honest with you. So if I was Deontay, I would have just swallowed the loss by now. Look at himself, his team, how they can improve and move forward, rather than looking for excuses, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe we could be sending a better message to the youngsters about how to deal with adversity from one level right down to another. One guy who gets quite a few opportunities, George, is Dave Allen, for right or wrong. Is that someone you'd fancy a crack at in the future?
Like I said, for me, he fits into that mold of like bitch. Those guys, that's an easy night's work for me. And obviously, my profile's not big right now. Anyone can have their opinion, anyone can doubt me, that's up to them. But I assure you categorically that is an easy night's work for me, and it's a fight that I'd love to take. In the meantime, I just have to build my profile, make myself as relevant as possible. I believe with the signing that we're about to announce and the consistency of dates that we're going to be given, I'll then be able to, showcase my skills and what I'm capable of. But that's definitely the kind of fight that we'll be looking for down the line.
Lovely job. Right, let's close out then with a few predictions, a few heavyweight predictions from you, or analysis, whatever you want to offer. First of all, Anthony Joshua going in against Kubrat Pulev in December. How do you see that one playing out?
I think AJ will be too young and fresh for him. I mean, for 3-4 rounds, Pulev may be dangerous. He's got that high guard, amateur style, good jab, but I think he's been inactive for a long while, getting on now. So I'll take AJ mid stoppage, 5 to 7.
AJ rolls on then. What about Dillian White? He wasn't expected to get banjoed by Alexander Povetkin in that first fight. They're fighting to a rematch. Do you think it will go differently for Dillian or much of the same?
Yeah, Dillian's someone I respect as a fighter. I think he's got a higher skill set, something that maybe hasn't shown through his fights how good he is. He's got a lot of options. Good body puncher, good counter puncher, can lead with a jab. And he was winning the first fight. If he has, the fortune required and he sticks to the game plan, I believe he can get the job done. But, Povetkin is always a dangerous. He carries, single punch knockout power, highly experienced. I'll edge Dillian on this one. Again, a mid to late stoppage, but it's going to be a tough fight.
And you mentioned sparring Joe Joyce just finally there. He's going in against Daniel Dubois. This is a fight we're all looking forward to. How do you see that one going, George?
This fight, I go back and forth. I mean, Joe's a good guy. Joe's someone. Daniel hasn't been in with the caliber of opponent that Joe has. I think Joe is going to bring some problems to the table. I actually think on the night Joe will be a bit more elusive than usual. I mean, throwback to when he fought Ian Lewison and he was trained under the guidance of Salas. He was actually using his feet and distance controlling a lot better than expected. So I think on that night he won't be the typical juggernaut that everyone expects to walk forward and take a load of shots. a lot is going to come down to whether he can take, Daniel's right hand. We'll see. I hate sitting on the fence. This one, I don't have a clue. One day I'm thinking Dubois round 1. Next day I'm thinking Joe's going to be too experienced for him and is going to, take him into deep waters. So that one we're going to have to see. I'm going to have to be just a fan like everyone else and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking forward to that one on BT Sport as well. Thanks for giving up so much of your time tonight, George. We really do appreciate it, and best of luck going forward. Thanks for joining us now.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being on. Hopefully we'll catch up again in the near future. And yeah, like I said, follow me on the socials and stay tuned for some pending news.
We'll be keeping an eye out. Thank you very much, sir. All the best now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. George Fox there, coming on with us on this Sunday evening. Really good to hear from George. Thought he spoke very well. Ozzy, you mentioned there about a possible future fight for George against your mate, Dave Allen. Feel free to speak about that if you wish, Ozzy, but you can go in on Dave. The boys have asked you to have a rant. The poor fella didn't even fight at the weekend. What could you possibly have to complain about this time for old Dave?
Oh, well, fair enough.
Go.
It wasn't his fault that Christopher Lovejoy completely fucked up. Why the fuck you signing a contract with Don King at this day and age? We have no idea. But so that is not his fault. However, he was offered 2 fights to ensure he could still box, this weekend. Simon Vallily and Mark Bennett, and he rejected them both, which is absurd. Instead, he tried to pick an opponent, which Edward Hearn revealed, which was 2-45. Now, he gives it the big lick, saying he wants, these sort of opponents, yet why is he trying to pick boxers with records of 2-45? Why do you not want to fight Simon Vallily? Why do you not want to fight Mark Bennett? If you think you are as good as you are, you should be blasting the likes of Mark Bennett and Simon Vallily out. I'll just pull up Mark Bennett's record now. He's an area level heavyweight. I think he's from up my way, actually. But again, it proves that Dave Allen gets these opportunities not through ability, not through any qualities. He's not a prospect. It's through a profile. It's through a profile because he's an idiot. He fucking rocked up this week into the fight camp in a dressing gown and and some slippers. What's he playing at? Again, it's just for attention. He lives for the attention. So Mark Bennett hasn't boxed in 12 months, was last seen against Nick Webb, and he got beat handedly. Now, Dave Allen destroyed Nick Webb. Now, I know triangle theories don't always work, but fuck me. You would like to think Mark Bennett, he beat Kamil Sokolowski close, 7-1, 1 KO, so not the biggest of punches at heavyweight. It is crazy that Allen is turning the likes of this down. Yet, he'll happily fight Christopher Lovejoy. Why is that? Because Lovejoy's shit. He's absolutely shit. And then he's saying, I'll fight Trevor Bryan. So you want to fight Trevor Bryan, but you don't want to fight Mark Bennett? Simon Vallily, we've seen Simon Vallily, haven't we? Every time, Fabio Wardley smashed him to bits. And it's because Allen knows he just ain't that good. And he can't take the risk against the likes of Bennett and Vallily because he could genuinely get beat. So don't fucking cry pauper and say, it's not right. And, you were shafted, yeah, but you were also offered 2 lifelines. And you turned them down and you wanted to fight an opponent of 2-45. What's the point? What is the point?
He's at it.
Saul Farah would be a fucking better opponent.
Oh, Saul, don't. I'm still seething over Saul. He got robbed, didn't he?
Robbed.
Well, he was
robbed.
He was robbed, and we've no doubt that the rematch will be happening under Farah Boxing Promotions. But anyway, back to David Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is going to get another opportunity now. They're trying to get the Lovejoy fight happening again. Fuck me. Why? Why do we want to see this fight? It's like Hearn's going, yeah, well, I've heard he can punch and I've heard he's useless. He's never seen him box. Nobody else has seen him box. There's a fucking reason why. Because he's trash. Yeah, he's still got Dave Allen propping up these cards, fighting garbage. Again, punching above his weight, no pun intended. That the fact
but think, Ozzy, though, this will give Lovejoy more time, though, to be fair, to get into worse shape.
I was going to say to you, Oz, as
exactly,
well.
yeah.
Remember you mentioned his trainer last week? He was trying to teach him how to turn over
Buddy
the right hand.
McGirt, wasn't
It
it?
was Buddy McGirt.
Yeah,
Buddy
that's
was
right.
a great fighter, by the way. And he's like, he's saying to Buddy, well, what's wrong with it? He's like, what do you mean what's wrong with it? It's just, you're not even throwing it right. Throw it straight.
Buddy couldn't believe it, could he? He was like, for fuck's sake.
This is what I mean. And there's talk that he's fucking said, you know, what's his face? Lovejoy said to Alan, look, I'm not a boxer type of thing. Fuck me. I mean, look, why is this guy getting an opportunity and stuff like that? Why not? It's crazy. And I mean, look, when the amount of fights Dave Allen has turned down now, I think we're pushing double figures. He got offered 250 grand to fight Daniel Dubois, said no. And that's because he was promised a career high payday after that. I mean, I can't fucking believe someone's willing to pay fucking Dave Allen 250k. And I mean, that would have fucking, Dubois would have obliterated him. But fuck me, Allen. He's like I said, he's like a bad smell. He just never goes away. He's always there, isn't he? Always crops up, and we're going to see him on another card yet again. And it's like, what is going on? And you're turning the likes of Mark Bennett and Simon Vallily down because you want to fight fat plodders like Christopher Lovejoy, who in reality are going to pose you no threat whatsoever. Absolutely nothing.
Didn't you say he wanted to fight, who's that WBA guy? Not Char.
Trevor Bryan?
Yeah, I'm still not convinced Trevor Bryan even exists, to be honest with you. Have you ever seen him fight?
But again, it's another Don King fighter, so you know what?
Yeah.
He might be a slimline Christopher Lovejoy type of thing, you know. He might, whereas Christopher Lovejoy doesn't, you know, train at all during during fight week. Look, Brian might have just a couple of sessions and then go and pig out on taking advantage of Matchroom sponsors, Five Guys, and eating loads of burgers type of thing. But this is what I mean.
I tell you what, though, right? Sorry to jump in on you. I tell you what,
No,
right? As I said to a good friend of the show here when I was talking about this the other night, Dave Allen knows his own level. He's not fucking stupid, man. He knows his own level. He's after being used as a sparring partner for Usyk and all. He knows he's light years away from the top level. But if he can keep getting rolled out on pay-per-views and getting his percentage and getting... Why the fuck would he bother fighting? Because he's not in it for titles. He's not in it for legacy. He's in it for the money. And we're worse to be kind of complaining about him and all that when he's getting all this kind of money that we're never going to see. Do you know what I mean? If he can get money fighting Christopher fucking Lovejoy, Tim Lovejoy, fucking Lovejoy, the detective, whoever the fuck it is that they're putting him in against, or... You know what I mean? Alan knows his own level himself, and he's playing everybody for a fucking fool. He's playing everybody, and he keeps... You know, he'll be on another pay-per-view, and he'll be on another pay-per-view. And Eddie, by the way, I'm going to make a hot take here. Eddie's 1 foot out of the sport, by the way, as well. This fucking Sky Sports deal is not going to last forever. Yeah, and I guarantee he's going to end up as a chairman of a football club or something. He's not going to stick around for post-Joshua. So, I get the frustration. Like, I get it, like with Alan. We've all talked about him a million times. But at this stage, it's kind of dawned on me that this cunt doesn't give a shit about the boxing community. He doesn't give a shit about his own legacy. If he did, he'd be fighting for area titles. Do you know what I mean? He'd be trying to add some kind of fucking credence to his own career. He's in it for the money, and he's playing everybody for a fool, and more fool us for keep fucking engaging him.
Absolutely. More on Dave Allen next week.
Himself above that level now. He sees himself above area level, English level, and he only wants, you know, like opportunities for the British title. Why? Why the fuck do you deserve an opportunity for that?
He keeps being told, he keeps being offered those opportunities, isn't it? Hearn's telling him, the fans are telling him, everyone's telling him he's above this level. That's why.
But you need to remember Adam Smith. Remember an interview that Dave Allen gave him that he says that Adam Smith had told him that you've still to reach your full potential. There's people like high up in the sky feed them bullshit like that, and he's drinking it in. Delusion.
No, I think he fucking knows, man. I think he knows his own level, and he's happy to play that card. You hear him fucking talking about on the IFL a few weeks ago. Oh, I was brought in to lose so many pay-per-views. Get the fuck. We can fucking remember when you were supposed to fucking fight Lemroy Thomas, man. We know you weren't brought in to lose that one, like, you know what I mean. So he knows. It doesn't matter fuck to Dave Allen whether he wins or loses, as long as the money goes into the bank.
It's spot on that. I mean, I'm just looking at the rankings now. Look, we can forget about Fury, Joshua White, Chisora, Joyce. Dubois would fucking kill him. Hughie Fury, he's turned down that fight, wanted too much money. I know that for a fact that he basically priced himself out of that. David Price, he got beat off. Nathan Gorman had pepper him. Fabio Wardley, he won't take that fight. Nick Webb, of course he'd take that rematch because he's already beaten him. Cash Ali, I mean, look, this is the level we're getting to now. I mean, Cash Ali, would he fight him? Probably not. And then you're knocking around the likes of Bennett, Vallily, Jay McFarlane type of thing. He's a, what's it called? He's a no mark who just wants to fight. Yeah, he is a chancer, yeah, and he wants to fight the likes of fucking Chippy Tits Lovejoy, who's got these padded records that looks good, but in reality, I've seen blokes down the fucking local who'd knock Christopher Lovejoy out and go give away 4 stone. So it fucking says it all that he's a pro.
Lovejoy versus the Guru coming soon, episode 397. Let's park the Usyk Chisora chat. Like I said, post-fight pod last night. Go and listen to hear what we had to say. Ozzy was on. He's on now as well. So is Andy, rapping Rob Kelly. Quick shout out to some of the boys over on Patreon before we move on. Mr. JS Ledbetter enjoying himself over there. Thomas Byrne as well. Gerwin Davis, who joined us this week. Economics, James Monaghan, Marty G, Marco Barrera, and James Addy. Joe Ringer, Nathan Shaw, John Kearns, who was in the chat last night. Shout out to you, John. Dom McNamara, regular listener. Been around forever as Dom. All-round good guy. Craig Evans, George Barry, Jeff Conway, and Graham Taylor, not the former England manager, because he's dead. I think he is anyway. He's not going to be listening to us on Saturday evening.
Orange?
What'd you say?
Do I not like orange? Remember that? He said that about Koeman. What did you think about the free kick? Well, he's got me the sack there.
Oh, I don't like that.
Do I not like that? That's right, Turnip Taylor. One for the older listeners there. Andy, I don't know how old you are, but you were trying to stay up last night desperately. Did you make it through the night? Did you
No.
for Gervonta Davis and Leo?
No, I didn't, mate. I went to bed, got up this morning, checked the result like I normally do. Get downstairs. Thankfully, it was on Channel 5. No hassle having to get a YouTube stream, download, or anything like that. Crystal HD. And yeah, it was. I tell you what, if I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, where you're going to rank that knockout this year and that. I mean, does it beat Povetkin White? I'm not sure. I mean, I went through some of the comments and stuff like that on Twitter, and believe it or not, it's turning into another race debate. You know, Davis, for example, you know, always belt on black and stuff, and people are then like, obviously people who hate Davis and that are then saying, oh, he's dragged him up, you know, for like 126 and all that sort of shit.
Oh, yeah, no, you can't say all that now.
No, I know. It's just it's the same after last week's after the Lomachenko Lopez fight. End of the day, you know, Davis, you know, he did very well. You know, to me as well as just looking at his performance there last night and stuff. If he can just maintain that level of commitment and intensity, and just like the training he did for this fight, he would be an absolute menace and a force at 130. But he's not going to be one of these fighters I think it's going to go for like the legacy fights as such at the minute. They're building him towards becoming this pay-per-view star rather than taking the risks with the opponents and that. Maybe going down the kind of Floyd route and maybe get the bigger fights later on and stuff. I would love to see him up at 135 against like Lopez and stuff like that as well. You know, he really brought that uppercut into play there last night, right hooks and stuff.
He's small for Lopez, you'd think, Andy.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody at 135, maybe outside of Haney, maybe. You know, I think the rest of them are kind of would be dwarfed by Lopez. But just on Davis though, it's the finish was fantastic. You know, but at the same time as well, people were kind of saying that, you know, they thought that Tank was walking through some of these punches. I don't think he was. I just thought the punching from Santa Cruz was just basically, it was like throwing punches and bunches and stuff. Naturally, some of them are going to land in the end anyway. But the ending, you know, just talk about getting put in your dad's lap, basically. You know, he got George Grove, didn't it? Just basically how Carol Fox folded him up with that right leg bending back there like that. So bad knockout. And
that's one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen, man. Honestly, it's right up there. It really is. I mean, at the time, I'm not going to say I thought he was dead, but I was actually worried about Santa Cruz. You know, he was out cold, ice cold, man.
Yeah, Tank was there having a look at that as well when they kind of pushed him away, and he was very groggy when he got up. When I mean, Eddie Hearn thought he got up at 8 though. No, seriously though, I mean, it was a bad knockout. I mean, I think he tried to kind of throw the right hand and just Tank's kind of like then slipped it and brought that left hook in. or kind of left, I was kind of left hook, kind of left uppercut. It was
Left uppercut. It was a big flailing, hellacious left uppercut.
He's just caught him wide open and stuff.
Leo started trading. He dragged him into which is what he didn't want to do because Davis is so short and to the point, isn't he?
This was my next point and stuff. I mean, I thought Santa Cruz was fighting pretty well in the early half of the fight and stuff. Like he was boxing, he was letting his hands go and stuff. Okay, I don't think he had the power to really kind of hurt Tank and stuff, but just I think every punch that Tank landed was, there was authority on it and stuff. And I just think I don't know, because it might have been because Santa Cruz got hurt at some point and then he's just got himself dragged into that. I just thought he got himself dragged into a fight with Davis and stuff, and by that point I thought it was all over. But then, as I say, if Tank can make 130 for here on in and stuff like that, he will be an absolute wrecking ball. Just hope he starts living the life and stuff, and we'll see how it goes in that. But definitely a contender for knockout of the year. Absolute savage ending. There's absolutely no debate about it. That's what you want to see. Chilling knockouts and stuff. But I see Santa Cruz. He posted on Twitter, on Instagram and stuff, so he seems to be okay.
Do you think he'll fight again?
No, I don't think he will. I was just going to say, I think he retires. He was talking about retirement in those Showtime documentaries that he did for his fight, the kind of the build up and stuff.
He's got plenty of money, hasn't he?
He's got plenty of cash. His dad's ill. Just go away. Do what you got to do with the family and stuff. He's had a good career. He's made plenty of coin, and again, as I say, the thing is, we need Santa Cruz is like 5 years ago. Davis is now. So we need these young guys coming in, taking over and taking out these old pros and veterans and stuff. So, Loma got taken out there. It would have been shit, actually, if Usyk lost there last night and Chisora won that fight. It would have done nothing for the heavyweight division. And then obviously we've got Tank there ending Santa Cruz and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been good. And obviously Inoue and that as well, kind of going strong as well. So, yeah, all round impressive performance by both guys, but Tank especially, absolutely savage ending. But we shout out to Floyd Mayweather and that. I don't know what it is with this guy. He's clearly, his ego's right off the scales and that, but he's getting booed between rounds and stuff like that when he's on the big screen and stuff. And right after the fight ends, he's up on his chair and he's shouting to the fucking crowd, "What the fuck, Floyd, is it got to do with you?"
He's a frigging nuisance, isn't he? Jumping into the ring and all that.
Exactly. It's not your night. You weren't fighting. You just do the fucking talking and take shine off that kid's fucking performances. You do all the talk. It's the same in the documentary build-ups and stuff like that. I wish he would just stop it. Going about like fucking the brother for The Wire. What's his name, Rob?
Brother My Zone. He was like last night.
Brother My Zone, aye.
But I tell you, that's all well and good until you're fucking Mikey Bay and you get beaten, then he don't want you no more. You know what I mean?
And Ashley Theophane.
I could see why he wouldn't want Ashley Theophane to be. Well, I'm going to say a few things. First of all, I agree Santa Cruz has got overpaid for a lot of fights in the past and he has cherry-picked, but I think both men come up with a lot of credit. Santa Cruz went and he fought with him, which was his downfall in the end. That was what got him knocked out. That's one of the worst knockouts I have seen. The worst knockout I've ever seen live was actually on a Frampton Santa Cruz undercard when Mikey Garcia knocked out Dayan's Latikanen, but that was bad because Latikanen was a sitting duck on the ropes for an absolute flush punch. But that one last night was an absolute stunner. And I think, this is from the fella, me, who said Broner was going to be the next Mayweather. I'm not saying Davis is going to be the next Mayweather, but I think it's in his hands now. If he can stay fit and focused like he did last night in at a decent weight, I think he has the potential to be the next superstar. I honestly think that highly of him. I think he's got it all. I think he showed a good chin. He adapted. He's got a good defense. He's so fast. He's powerful. That high right wheel knockout was having millions and millions of views on Twitter last night. All the basketball stars were tweeting it out as well. This guy has the potential now to be an absolute superstar, Rob. He said his pay-per-view, Davis. I thought Davis actually spoke quite well. Someone had a word in his ear before the post-fight interview. I think he spoke really well, Rob, but he said on pay-per-view now. Do you think Davis is going to go back to free TV or will he be a pay-per-view star from now on? And what I will say is, if he is a pay-per-view star, that's not good for people's pockets, but it might be good for his legacy because they'll have to put him in against a certain level of opponent to justify that.
Can you hear me okay? Because
I can, yeah.
Hurricane out there at the moment. No, I think I've been high on Davis from day one as a fighter. I mean, you can go back 3-4 years listening to me. I always preface it by saying I think he's a hell of a fighter. Leo Santa Cruz is a hell of a fighter, and I've made smart investments, and you can't compare me to Lomachenko. But all seriousness, I think he's the goods as a fighter. It's the out of the ring stuff that he needs to get under control. It's been well documented that his personal life has been turbulent, to say the least. Still to this day, no Deontay Wilder. So I think he needs to focus and get himself. I think a 12-week camp does him well, but we have to remember he's fighting a guy who shouldn't be at fucking 130 in the first place. Like I'm not taking any shine off his performance, but they're matching him well to build him towards being a pay-per-view star. Floyd only cares about that. He doesn't care about the legacy or anything. So who are we going to see him in next? I think he'll stay at 130 if he can make it. Why not? Why wouldn't he? Like, he is a tank. He's all muscle when he makes weight, and the power is real with Gervonta Davis, and the same about Teofimo Lopez. Whatever you say about them as characters, the power is real, and I think the ability is real from Gervonta. But I wonder where the relationship with Floyd is going to end. There's never been a good ending to a relationship between Floyd and a fighter thus far, and I think Floyd would be quick to turn his back on him if things went south. What he's gained from being with Mayweather is the profile, and now, like you said, the basketball stars, the rappers, everybody is rooting for Gervonta, and he's an American star. The sport needs American stars to buy those pay-per-views, to generate interest, and to keep the sport in the limelight. So, like Andy said, I'm all for this young fighters coming through, doing what they're supposed to do. He was supposed to knock Leo Santa Cruz out. He did it emphatically. Let's see where he goes next. I think they're being very careful with the way they match him, and I think he does show signs of petulance sometimes. He did it in the Pedraza fight, not the Pedraza fight. I think it was the Fonseca fight rather, and he showed signs of it last night where he's throwing Leo Santa Cruz to the ground. I don't want to be hypercritical of him because I think, like I said, I think he's a hell of a fighter and he's going to make smart investments. But I'm high on Gervonta Tank Davis as a fighter, but I just want to see him. He's in a time now where he needs to be fighting the best fighters around to make his mark on the sport, not just the fucking bank balance.
Yeah, exactly. Jab, power, smart investment. Three things that are definitely going for Gervonta. Putting on a mask might not be one of them. I know I was just so impressed with him. I thought he was superb. I genuinely think that, like I said, people compare I know Eddie compared Devin Haney to Mayweather. Mayweather's a one in a generation. I think Gervonta can be his Mayweather or Roy Jones or the fighter of that generation. I honestly think he's got that much talent if he knuckles down. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm talking shit all the time. Everybody knows that. But I think this guy is closing in on pound for pound already. Not the top, but definitely the top 10 or whatever. But I really, really high on Gervonta Davis. Regarding the knockout Aussie, I've seen the discussion going back and forward. I would still say, despite this being an amazing knockout and the way Santa Cruz crumbled was unbelievable, I will still go for White against Povetkin as knockout of the year. The reason being, the fact that a lot of people picking Gervonta Davis to knock out Santa Cruz meant that even though it came out of the blue in the fight for me, it didn't come completely out the blue. There was an expected chance that Santa Cruz might get knocked out like that by Davis. Whereas with White Povetkin, White was not only the favourite, but when the time it came, the momentum was completely one way. I mean, he'd been knocked down twice, Povetkin, given no hope. Everyone thought it was a matter of time, and then all of a sudden, it literally came out the blue. So on the knockout, I would side with White Povetkin for those reasons stated.
I'd side with White Povetkin purely because it ended up with Dillian White on the canvas out cold. And that is as good as anything for me to why it's a better knockout. But it was unreal. I thought it was classy. I mean, Santa Cruz threw the same right hand 3 times. The first one landed. The second one, Davis blocked. And the third one, he countered and threw the uppercut. And it was fucking unreal. Like you said, Steve, I was worried. He was out cold, leg folded over. It was an unreal shot. And I want to say it was kind of a coming out fight for Davis. That, of course, he was in with a guy that realistically shouldn't have been at Super Feather. But he had some rough moments in that fight. And it wasn't, complete one-way traffic. And I probably had Santa Cruz winning the fight at the time, at the stoppage. But Davis's class. I said last week I think he'd win, and I think he'd win inside 6 and naturally knock him out. And if he can keep that weight down and operate at super feather, I think he'll dominate at that weight. I mean, fuck me. He'll beat Herring. He'd absolutely destroy Valdez. Fuck me, that would be a brute of a fight. Tevin Farmer, he'd destroy him. Jojo Diaz, I think he beat them all. And like I said, it's all about, as you said, Steve, you called it right. It's in Davis's hands. It's solely in his hands. If he goes off on a wild one, balloons up, mixes with the wrong people, he's The only person that will beat Gervonta Davis at the moment is himself. And that's because, he can be easily swayed and lured in. But fingers crossed, look, if they put him on pay-per-view, as you say, we'll have to take a caliber of opponent. However, as well, I don't think it'd be a bad thing if they keep him on free to wear, for a few more fights. Without a doubt, you keep building that profile, keep building it. But, don't put him in against absolute knockover jobs. As you say, last night, everybody saw that knockout. Everybody. I mean, I've had people, saying, fuck me, did you see this? They haven't a clue who he is, but they're watching him now and they'll remember the name.
And there have been, Ozzy, sorry to interrupt you, this has been building. I know that we always hear that the PBC shit and they're always moaning about Heyman. We spoke about Steve Kim. The reality is, Davis has been building. He's been selling out arenas. He's selling pay-per-views now. He's a legitimate star. And like I said, the basketball guys and all that were retweeting that last night. Rap stars and all this is starting to hang around. Yeah. This guy is building his profile. He's becoming a star already.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing I think they did right as well, it was on free-to-air Channel 5 last night. You can't do anything about the time that's going to happen. But the fact is that people can get up and watch it, don't have to pay a penny, is great. And like I said, you'll have more people watching it. It'll be on the Channel 5 watch back thing, like whatever it's called, 5 Live, like the BBC iPlayer type of thing. It'll be on there. So people will be watching it on there as well. Like I said, he can be his own worst enemy, but he's been built tremendously well, and they've got a real asset and a real star. And I think he could be, he's going to be around for many years to come, and it's going to take a hell of a fighter to beat him. And I think
I'll tell you what.
Go on.
You're dead right. You're dead right. But the danger for Gervonta Davis, as I said, is outside the ring. I mean, he has Lil Uzi Vert bringing him to the ring last night, but previously to that, he had Casanova, the rapper, bringing him to the ring. Now, I know our listeners are probably not familiar with him, but he's actually one of my friends' artists. He's signed to his label, but he's in the dressing room with him at the Gamboa fight, I believe, and before that, his fight before that. But he was the type of fella that was attracting Tekashi, the other rapper, to come to the Barclays Center, and there was a shooting where Casanova was involved, and he's got Casanova in the dressing room. So I think when people think we're digging the Gervonta out, we're not digging him out, but it's just showing more concerns for boxing is show business these days, and show business is one of the worst fucking businesses to be in and one of the most ruthless. So he's got so many hangers on, so much entourage. We saw the baby mama incident and stuff like that. We know he's been extorted before, where people have tried to take money from him for kidnapping his family members and stuff.
Checks, so stuff like that as well, and hawk jewelry.
Yeah. So he's doing the Mayweather blueprint and the Broner blueprint at the same time, and hopefully he chooses the right path. Sorry, that was the point I was trying to make.
What do you think, Oz?
Sorry, what was the point?
Just what Rob was saying there. Just thinking you agreeing. I mean, with Gervonta, he is going to be his own worst enemy, unfortunately, and it'd be such a shame if he pisses the talent away that he's clearly got.
Completely agree, yeah. And as I say, he's his own worst enemy, and the only person that will beat Gervonta Davis is himself. And that is him allowing people. We said it last week. We said it during the week. He comes across really well as a talker, and he's easily, you build him up and, you get dickheads around him like Broner and stuff like that. But when you speak to him, he actually comes across quite well. Whether that's somebody having a, a word in his ear and stuff, but he's a good talker. He's not like a loudmouth. But what he does say, he backs up. And sometimes, for some boxers, it takes a certain performance, either to level them out and think, fuck me, I need to do this, I need to do that. And it might be yesterday's fight might well have been one of them that actually thinks I can go all the way. I can do this. And like I said, fingers crossed, he stays on the straight and narrow, and both. It will take a hell of a fighter to beat him, that's for sure.
Absolutely. If anybody wants to join the call, let me know. I'll put the StreamYard link in the chat. Moving on to the undercard then. I'll mention a couple of bits and bobs, Andy, first of all, then you can have your say. Isaac Cruz knocking out Diego Magdaleno. Magdaleno looked like he'd been on the piss. Looked like he crawled out to the mountains after doing some flipping mountain hiking or something. He looked in absolute state. Got battered, quick time, got rid of him. Regis Prograis, he looked okay. I'm still not sold on Prograis completely. Keeps on saying he's the best fighter at 140. He clearly isn't. Juan Heraldo's got the opportunity because he was a Money Mayweather fighter. Prograis dealt with him pretty efficiently. Also, Andy, Mario Barrios, again, I'm not sure about Barrios, whether he's actually good or not. He's clearly got skills, gets hit too much, gets involved a little bit too much. Virgil Hunter, you'd think, would have him tying up on the inside. Ryan Cowboy Carl, quite the character. We all know what to expect from him. Horrible cut. The blood was absolutely pissing. He tried his best, but he got battered in the end. Anything from that undercard? Oh, yeah, sorry, just to mention as well, this fight wasn't televised to my knowledge, but high on Michel Rivera. I think he's one to watch. He beat Ladarius Miller by scores of 97-93 across the board. I didn't see that one, but you got Prograis, Barrios, Magdaleno. Anything that took your interest, Andy?
Yeah, I seen the Barrios fight. Was in the end, I suppose he kind of like just cut through the guy. He has got the long arms and stuff, so he was kind of like working head and body. Bad cut, and the guy was gutty enough, I suppose, and that, but ultimately kind of like he got broken down. Magdaleno, that was a bit of a shock actually, just getting iced like that. What was it, like a minute? Can't mind how to be honest with you, but that was all I kind of caught. I seen the Prograis stoppage. And I've no caught up. I've not seen the Rivera fight, so hopefully there might be a copy of that going to be at some point. But no, for me anyway, the main event was where it was at for me actually. I wasn't really kind of too fussed about the undercard, to be honest with you.
Ozzy, watching on Channel 5, anything from the undercard? Don't worry, if not, we can move on.
Negative, mate. Didn't look at anything. I just saw the Magdaleno knockout.
Rob, anything from the undercard to interest you? Any career projections for Regis Prograis? I tell you what, he's got more managers than I've had hot dinners. I hope he's making smart investments.
I don't think he's making smart investments, man. Isn't he the fella that got caught for the timeshare in fucking Latin America or something?
That's right, he did, yeah.
I think
Mexico, wasn't it?
His investments are far from smart. I think he just bought some cartel cocaine unknowingly. But no, what I was saying is just to expand on the point about Gervonta. Like, I mean, I know just from being around the fighters, some of them, how big the entourages are. So just the Irish fighters that I was around, Andy and Oisin, like, I could see there's so many people. There's sports stars, fellow sports stars from different fucking genres, TV people, all the ex-fighters. Like, Halling had a nightmare on his own commentary last night, by the way, but Usyk, they showed a clip of Usyk in the dressing room, and he says, Andy, this is a far cry from the days of you. Of course, you weren't the unified champion, and you never won the Olympic gold medal. Andy Lee, who was a world champion himself, an Irish Olympian, who was treated like fucking royalty in Limerick, by the way. The whole city stopped when Andy was having a fight. As you know yourself, Steve, like, everybody was out from the fight community. And like, I always made a point that I go to the hotel during the day, say hello, whatever, and then I make my own way to the fight. And if they invited me to the dressing room, then I go to the dressing room. But other than that, like, I was offered lifts in the limo and that to go to the venue, but there's just too many people, and I never wanted to be seen as a hanger-on. But in boxing, it's such a glamorous sport. It's the combat sport. It's the mano-a-mano. And so many celebrities and, people from outside are driven to that, like, are attracted to that Davis could be on the slide easily in the wrong circles if shit goes wrong for him. So we're all willing and hoping that, like you said earlier, he doesn't waste his talent, because he's a fucking cracking fighter, man. And what a fighter to be coming through. 95% knockout rate or whatever it is. Dangerous with both hands. Good skill set. Looks the part. You know what I mean? He's the star that the sport needs if he gets it on the right track.
I agree. I remember Riddick Bowe used to have about 40 people in the changing rooms. I don't think they're hanging around with old Riddick now. Hope he's okay. Richard Swig made a comment. I'll just throw it out there. Nobody has to comment, really. Usyk, this is back to the Usyk fight, actually. He's obviously top class, but I remember when he hit Glavaki with a massive punch in round 11 of their fight, and Glavaki didn't move a muscle. He had beaten up Glavaki for 10 rounds up to that point. That lack of power is an issue. That's something we actually mentioned last night. Talking of former Usyk victims, Andy, up at the heavyweight division now. Seems like he's been out for friggin' hell since the Usyk fight, I think 2 years. Murat Gassiev finally returned at heavyweight against Nuri Seferi. Danny Young was mentioning the knockout was pretty brutal in the first round of the scheduled 12. I haven't actually seen it yet. What was it like, and how did Gassiev look, I suppose, physically more than anything?
Physically, he looked pretty well, actually. I mean, I think he's weighing something like 230. I thought the weight looked really good on him. It wasn't like fat and that. It was definitely like, quite lean. I was surprised that Sanchez was in the corner there last night. I mean, I thought they were still together. Someone had mentioned they maybe broke up again, and I'm not entirely sure. But Seferi, just shall we say, I mean, I don't think he even bothered training for this fight. I know he was like, what was he, third pick? I think he was called in at like a few days' notice. But for a professional fighter and that, it's just an absolute shambles, shambolic state. I mean, he's got like a crate, never mind a six-pack, he's got a crate for a belly. As the fight starts, that you're kind of looking at Gassiev and that he's not even throwing like proper punches and that he's kind of like putting the hand out there just to kind of like maybe be annoying and stuff. But then he just steps in with the right hand and just absolutely ices the guy. So you can't really take too much from it and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're going up in weight and your name's Murat Gassiev, you deal with opponents like that in that fashion, and that's what he done. Just monster right hand. He will definitely be some sort of threat in the heavyweight division. To what end, again, it will depend on his matchmaking and stuff. But I did read a couple of weeks ago that he's supposed to be having some sort of kind of issues with his promoter, and he says he's becoming a free agent shortly and that. So maybe he might get signed up with someone else, maybe like Aram, Top Rank, maybe Eddie.
Don King, maybe.
Don King, aye.
That's just what he needs.
Well, he's been missing for a fair length of time, so if he wants to disappear entirely, then that's what he do. Sign me Don King. Yeah, but as I say, it's there's not much you can write home about. It's just he's up in weight now. He's 230. He's looking decent at the weight. Clearly, he's gonna need some more fights and stuff like that before we can start talking about any of the top 10 guys and stuff. But certainly, a wee bit encouraging in that, and good to see. As I said, we're talking about during the weekend that like a 20-something heavyweight who's just coming into the kind of division now and stuff like that. So it'll be good it definitely will be a good addition. Just want to see him active now, and we'll take it from there.
Gassiev back fit and firing. Andy mentioned monsters there. We'll be going to the Halloween monster Naoya Inoue shortly on the ESPN card, episode 397. Andy's here with Rob, Ozzy and me, Steve. Ozzy, question came in from friend of the pod, Sam C. Talking pay-per-view numbers, our favourite subject here, really. How much do you think they will charge for a Fury versus Joshua pay-per-view? Make your predictions now, says Sam. Starting off with you, Ozzy, how much do you think they'll charge for a Fury Joshua pay-per-view?
25 quid.
As low as that?
I assume that. But yeah, look, the UK hasn't been brought up with paying, like hefty fees. What was it, $14.99 at its lower? I mean, the standard. I know we've seen, like the YouTuber thing was at 10 quid, and the Super Series ones were at a tenner as well. The earlier fights, but I think they'll definitely stick between 25 up to 25 and £30. I certainly think they'll happily. What is it now? $19.99. I think for them to make this fight happen, it wouldn't shock me if they pay stick a $5 or another tenner on. The demand is there. It's simple as. I just think everybody will want to watch it. It's the biggest heavyweight fight that can be made, and if you look back at recent years as well, has been for a fucking hell of a long time as well. 25 quid. I don't think you'll have people moaning about that. I always say as well, if the undercard's going to be trash, I won't bother with an undercard. Fuck the undercard off. If it just means that we tune in at 10 o'clock for a bit of build-up and then they fight in the ring at 10:30, so be it. If it means, like we mentioned last night, I don't want to see the likes of Savannah Marshall against Hannah Rankin on, like undercards, which are trash. I'd rather see nothing, a bit of analysis, bit of talk, and then just go straight into the fight, or have 3 fights, but make sure the 2 ones are decent. But yeah, between 25 and 30 quid is what I think they charge.
What do you think, Rob? I think it might be a bit more than that, because I know it's not the most interesting subject in the world, but it is interesting that they've been creeping it up slowly, haven't they? And you'd think something like AJ against Fury would be the chance to sort of raise the bar, test the water, and then sort of set that that barrier, that watermark, at the price.
Absolutely. I could see this if I make a bold statement. If they, obviously, I think the play is to make is something is telling me about news stories in the recent past that this fight might be made in the Middle East. So there may be a case to have people at the fight at that stage. Having said that, I think they're going to still give up a massive percentage of a normal gate if they were to have that in the UK or have it in the States. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is £50 for the pay-per-view. As someone said to me, the first time ever Sky had a pay-per-view, I think it was Someone will tell me. Someone will tell me on this. It might have been a Mike Tyson fight. It might have been Mike Tyson Holyfield. I think one was the first Sky pay-per-view. One of the listeners will correct me. I'm sure one of these fucking nerdbots will tell me, "Oh, it was actually Riddick Bowe in 1994 or whatever." But I remember having the discussion at the time with someone, and someone was like, "Listen, Sky have whatever 16 million subscribers, 32 million subscribers. If 1 million subscribers buy that at £10, they still made their money." Like, so I was like, yeah, if so, so if 1 million people buy that fight, which I think they would buy Joshua Fury, 1 million on this side buy it at 50 quid a shot, I could see that happening too. And it's going to be 70, 80 quid in the States no matter what because of the network deal. So yeah, it's the biggest fucking money fight in the history of the sport. There's no doubt about it. It's going to eclipse Mayweather Pacquiao, and it's going to fucking dance on its competition when it gets made. I would imagine. Like I don't think if anyone on the panel thinks that Mayweather Pacquiao does more than it, I couldn't see it. I don't know. Maybe the Joshua loss is the only thing taking the shine off it, but I think it's a massive pay-per-view fight in terms of numbers, no matter what. And I wouldn't rule him out charging 50 quid.
How many buys do you think it'd do?
What did Mayweather Pacquiao do? 1 million?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it.
In the UK, you mean? In the UK, Rob? Yeah.
I think Hat and Zoo is that not 1.5?
I think it does. I think it does towards the side of 2 million pay-per-views.
No, it was Hat and Floyd I'm thinking about. It was at 1.5.
I'm not sure. That's fucking 2008. I remember that one. Was that 2008, 2007?
That's big numbers.
2007. But I think, that's massive numbers. But I think Fury and Joshua is by far the biggest fight in the sport and could easily, with both of their profiles, eclipse pay-per-view records, in my opinion. Because, like, don't forget, Fury's massive in the States, too. He's not... AJ didn't quite make the mark over there, but Fury did what he didn't do and took over the game in the States with the ESPN shit. They're used to seeing him for free. A fight for all the belts against AJ, that has to be a massive, massive pay-per-view fight. I couldn't see a pay-per-view fight beating that. All those records are made to be broken with the era of social media and this and that and streaming and, just the exposure that these fighters have compared to fighters gone by. It's magnified 10 times. So I would see this as a huge pay-per-view fight. I don't know if the lads on the panel agree with me, but I think it's going to be up there to break all records.
I'm just looking at some figures now. I've seen numbers for Mayweather Hatton. Wow. So that came in at Sky Box Office estimated at 1.2 million. So 1.2 mil. HBO said they went in at 850K. So that's over 2 million worldwide. Well, sorry, just in the UK and US alone. And I agree. I agree with Rob. There's not many fights you get like this. They're fairly well established, pay-per-view, figures as well, particularly Joshua. And if you're going to see an undisputed heavyweight world title fight, I think you'll have every, Tom, Dick and Harry flooding to watch that and to buy that as well, without a doubt.
Mm. Well, I think previously the argument for Eddie Hearn, Evening Ed, I know you're listening tonight, you're going to be tuned in, was always that Fury wasn't a draw. But Fury took that and was like, fuck you, went to the States, had his 2 fights with Wilder, his fight with Wallin, his fight with Tom Schwartz, comes out, Apollo, they fucking love him in the States, did the press run over there and was like, came back and was like, now it's a 50-50 fight. So I just think it's the biggest fight that can be possibly made in boxing. Whether it'll deliver as a contest, who knows? That we're a long way away from fucking even talking about that. But in terms of pay-per-view, I think it's a monster.
I think they need to rejig the whole pay-per-view model about the way they're setting it up. I've said before, and I know people said that's stupid, but there's too much boxing on at the moment. You're getting too much shit. HBO used to show 3 good fights. Showtime still show 3 good fights. I always go back to my favourite 2006 pay-per-view HBO extravaganza where you had Marco Antonio Barrera against Rocky Juarez, Israel Vasquez against Johnny Gonzalez, and Jorge Barrios against Joan Guzman. That's the standard. Sky showed that in the morning as part of your Sky subscription. They need more quality than quantity, Rob.
Is that just the... Oh, bollocks.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me, yeah. Sorry, I thought I was actually cutting off on a feed. No, I was saying, is that not the lay of the land, though, now? Because me and my mate were talking about this from Astro the other day, and I was like, I have Netflix, I have fucking Now TV, I have Disney Plus for the little one, I have fucking YouTube, I've got a free year with Amazon, or with Apple TV on my phone. and everything good is on Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? So it's like, is that not just the lay of the land that boxing, there's a knock-on fucking repercussion in that everything is fragmented now? You know what I mean? You have 3 different streaming music providers. You've got fucking 20 different TV providers, and it's what you like. And the boxing is the same. They're all on different networks. Like, it's just a byproduct of that, isn't it?
It is indeed. Ozzy, anything to add before we move on, sir?
No, mate, let's move on.
Let's move on indeed, Andy, into the bubble. We always love a good trip into the bubble, don't we? Before we go on to Inoue, I'll say my 2 pence worth about the undercard. I had a bit of a rant about women's boxing last night, so I'm not going to go in on Eva Brodnicka against Michaela Mayer. Wasn't great, all things considered. Jared Anderson, quite a lot of hype about him. He's only 20 years of age, nice heavyweight, progressing well. Got his 7th knockout against Luis Eduardo Pena. A bit of a punch bag, really, but what can you expect? Andy Hirooka, the son of a Japanese fella and a Ghanaian woman. He's quite the character, this Hirooka. Moved to 16-0 by knocking out Ricky Edwards. Julian Rodriguez, I like the look of him now. He's 21-0, defeated Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, getting a bit of a muddle here. And also, Andy, I don't know if you saw the Robson-Conceição fight. I'll tell you what, they're taking these Olympians and they're trying to deliver them O's. You already saw Robesi Ramirez getting beaten on a top-rank undercard. Conceição was, flip me, more open than my car window, man. He was getting battered by Luis Correa, dropped in the second round, got his mouth all split up. He eventually won the fight with a 95-92 from the esteemed Don Trella.
Oh, I've never seen the fight. I did see some comments on Twitter on that last night before I went to bed, but I've not seen any undercard. I did watch my man Inoue. I mentioned last week that it'd been good to see him get tested.
Yeah.
Never
I
really
said
happened,
he would go to the 7th round. For once, I was right.
Yeah, you were right, mate. You were right. Maloney, you know, as I say, he's decent enough. You know, he's trying to get the jab going and stuff. He's using movement. He's trying to use lateral movement and stuff. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, Inoue figured out every move that he was making, and he just, you know, he can rush into the corner. He was landing uppercuts, left hooks, just really kind of exploited any moments in that where, you know, Maloney was actually kind of like, you know, no punching or kind of like taking advice for the corner and that. As I say, he just adapted everything, and he was right hands, you know, that jab, like it's a fantastic jab. It's like piston, like it's absolutely tremendous. And then, well, the first knockdown, I think it was off a left hook, I'm sure. And the ending on with a straight right hand and stuff. You're talking about like about Lopez and Davis, for example, being bangers and that. You know, Inoue's power is pure as well. You know, whatever he hits, he's destroying at the minute and stuff. 118 to me, anyway, it's locked up. He is the man, and to be honest with you, I would love. He's had a great career, but again, we're going back to what's happened over the last few weeks. We need to see Ubali, who isn't young, but we need to see Donaire at the road. I didn't want to see a rematch with Inoue and Donaire and that, for example, but Inoue Ubali would be interesting because Ubali is an absolute mutant at that weight. He's massive. He's backed like an aircraft carrier. So, and he's rough as well and that. So
he'd be a proper test. He would Ubali for Inoue.
It would, and I'll tell you what, if Inoue was to stop him, by the way, to me that's a signature win. It's a very, very good win if he stops that kid. So
he busts. I think Inoue, have you noticed, Andy? He bruises up a lot around the eyes. I think Ubali could be a problem for him going forward. I don't see him cutting, although I think didn't he cut against, was it Donaire or somebody? But he always bruises up around the eyes and the cheekbones. So I think Ubali would have success with those long whipping shots.
I just think it's just the kind of way the facial structure is really, especially with some of these Japanese fighters and stuff. But yeah, he's had problems with that. Obviously, had the bad cut against Donaire and that. But I think it's the only belt he needs to pick up. Actually, I'm sure WBC. So I think he's got WBC. I just can't remember if he's got WBO or no off the top of my head and that. But certainly he's after this fight. I mean, obviously we mentioned like Rigo coming down in weight and that. Maybe that fight could happen. But Ubali would be tremendous to make. After that, really, if he was to get Ubali, and obviously we were kind of like surmising that he beats Donaire, what does he do next? You know, does he hang about for Rigondo, or does he go up to 122?
Casemiro, maybe?
Possibly.
That fight was supposed to take place in April. Casemiro's a wild card too, isn't he? You never know what to expect from him.
True, very true. Tetty's, we've never heard much about Tetty now at 118 for a while and that as well. I did notice Labario Solis, who's like must be like late 30s, kicking about the top rankings, but Lee McGregor's kind of top 6 with IBF.
Tetty will float away now, won't he? Nobody wanted to fight him when he had a title. They're definitely not going to want to fight him now.
Absolutely. So as I say, it's getting very kind of thin for opposition and stuff. But Inoue is one of the fighters that I think for me he's at his absolute optimum weight at the minute. I think he's absolutely his prime, his peak at 118. It's no meaning to say he can't go to 122 and like no put on that weight and still be a force. And that, you know, he could weigh in at like 119, 120 or whatever. Now, like wee bit like Rigo, still kind of knock out some of the fighters and stuff. But I think if he was to go up, I think 122 would probably be his ceiling. I mean, Inoue must be like late 20s now and stuff. Definitely getting up age. He's come up for minimum weight and that as well. So that's got a decent amateur career and that. He's now had like the 20 pro fights and stuff. Sky's the limit for him. It really is. I would like to see him kind of get a kind of a top fight. I mean, he's with the right promoter, I think. But I think the names are going to be really hard to get from. I mean, 122, 118, as I say, apart from O'Bally, there's nothing really like name-wise in that. Outside the hardcore, shall we say? So you just wonder that as well. Could he maybe start looking at like 126? Maybe like your Gary Russells, Josh Warringtons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
a
know,
bit
but
much,
that's
I think. That'd be a
is
step.
a bit.
Where's Luis Neri these days? Where's he? He's PBC, isn't he?
He's at. I'm sure he's at a. He's a champ at 122. I'm sure.
Right. Okay.
Aye, because he beat. Who's it? He beat. He won. He won the belt recently. Who was it? He beat.
He beat Nelson. It was Ahamada or something. I thought that it was a really close fight, but I can't remember what you call the guy. He was a Mexican fellow, Andy.
El Hamed. He plays right back for Celtic.
I bet you wish you played left back in the changing rooms anyway.
Hey, we're on a roll now, baby. We're on a roll. We're back in the game. We're back in the game after
the winning ways, mate. That's what you want to hear.
Let's have a look. I've got one more question. It was Aaron Alameda. So there you go. I was having a bit of a seizure there. Just quickly on the commentary, Andy. Do they protest too much? I thought Andre Ward obviously was notoriously critical of Inoue when he made his American debut against Antonio Nieves 3 years ago. And he was surely making up for it last night. Someone had had a word and he was like, well, I was critical before, but I'm on board now. And he kept on saying it, and him and Bradley. And this guy is amazing. And someone had definitely had a word with them boys. They were hyping Inoue. I mean, Inoue looked good, don't get me wrong. They were hyping him to the absolute maximum, especially Andre Ward, man. That was a bit contrived for my liking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, it's his kind of first fight for Top Rank as well. Kind of like in America, is it no way? Or was he on that Top Rank card the first fight in America? Can't
no, this was his American Top Rank debut, so this is the first time for Top Rank in the bubble, yeah.
Yeah, again, just we've mentioned it before. I mean, Sky. I was going to mention actually about Tony Bellew last night, for example. I mean, the way he's carrying on, right, and then they go after the fight. Sorry, I'm digressing here, but I'm trying to get back to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Bellew goes on about, like, say, you know, he's on Sky and he's interviewed that. I thought Dell, won that fight. He should do that fight and stuff. Just like gain, and then you could hear him roaring at ringside and stuff like that. And this guy digs him up, for the way he acted and the way he was talking, the way he put his opinion across and stuff like that. Look, if you're that biased towards Del Boy, why are you even there? Why are you even there? You're meant to be professional and you're meant to be, like, say, apolitical, shall we say? Just be neutral, right? Can you imagine, obviously, if Tony gets wind, like the way like Ward and Bradley were kind of going on there the last few weeks and stuff like that, what would he be saying about it? That's biases and all that sort of stuff. And look, Inoue is a great fighter, but they need people to kind of like start selling us, like, the hard selling that. He has got his flaws. He's open defensively. He goes up back in straight lines and he can get tagged, right? But I just wish he would just kind of call the fights in that. Dre, I usually like Andre actually with his takes and stuff like that. It's usually Bradley kind of goes overboard. And I seen it. I noticed it was at was it Bernardo Osuna? I think it was on.
It was indeed, yeah.
He was the one that lost his ship, the Zepeda Baranchik fight and stuff. I really like him. He's got his place, but I don't rate him as a lead commentator. Again, but ESPN have always been like, I mean, over the last, since lockdown at least, that they've been selling it hard. They've been just talking about the story. We've had the Matrix downloading data. It's a bit like, it's the American version of the story, like Sky put across their kind of like theories and stories and that as well, so. There was something I was going to mention. I don't know if anybody heard about it last night. Remember Salcedo against Barbosa on I think it was the Lomachenko card actually a couple of weeks back. Now he sustained 2 brain bleeds and has been forced to retire.
No, it's a shame. Not surprised. He took a lot of shots. You remember the Lenny Zapavinia fight?
Yeah, it was a hard going fight.
He got
Lenny was a
knocked.
hard
He
fighter.
got stopped by Mo Hooker as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
Saucedo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should retire, man. I don't like seeing fighters. I know. Remember Joe Messi, the heavyweight, fighting for years, trying to get his license back. Just when you're seeing someone who's had a brain bleed, getting punched in the head, man, it just makes me a bit queasy. But there's the world of boxing for you. Let's move on then, shall we? Coming to you shortly with Jaime Munguia, Andy. Coming to you, Aussie, with the stuff from next week. Rob, question came in for you over on patreon.com. Excuse me, /boxing asylum from our friend Joe Kennedy. Haven't seen Joe in the chat tonight. He's an all-round good guy. He says, Ryan Garcia, Rob, has been fighting blown up super featherweight so far in his career, yet people are picking him to KO Luke Campbell, a big lightweight who went 12 rounds with Loma and Linares. Watching Garcia throw combinations on the pads and the bag, says Joe, he leaves his chin up in the air. Am I the only person thinking he'll get beat, possibly stopped, when he steps up against Luke Campbell?
I think this is as can you hear me still, yeah?
But you're in hurricane territory, Rob. Back with a vengeance.
Yeah, I was thinking it was getting a bit rough there. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, dude. Yep.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be his toughest test since getting caught cheating on the baby mama there a few weeks ago, Ryan Garcia. Certainly not living the life outside of the ring, acting a maggot with the women all the time. No doubt he'll be sending a few texts about how he's bathing in his tears. And maybe he could be bathing in tears after the Luke Campbell fight. I think if Ryan Garcia arrives on the scene by defeating Luke Campbell, you can say he's the real deal. And look, again, we talk about stars in the sport. Bob Arum said straight away he wants to make Teofimo Lopez Ryan Garcia if he comes through with Campbell, because Garcia's fan base is massive. It is. He's the Ricky Martin of fucking boxing, whether you like it or not. He's living La Vida Loca, smashing up the baby moms. This one just only turned 18 as well, so Ryan is possibly, you know what I mean? He's maybe mentally immature for his age. But
AKA Pussy Hound.
Oh, he's deaf. Oh, he's all over it, man. Bala la 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 bamba. Ricky, what's his name? Ricky Fallon's.
He just needs to ask
Garcia.
Oscar how to do it, you know.
Man, he's to see his fan base, man. How is he not like? Come on, Ryan Garcia, pluck those eyebrows, baby. No, we need Ryan Garcia to beat Luke Campbell. I like Campbell. I think he's an excellent technician. I think he's an underrated fighter. I think he had bumps in his career that made him a better fighter. I think he tried his best to keep in the Lomachenko fight. He gave Linares a great fight, and he's a big test for Ryan Garcia at this stage of his career. Like my man says, he's been beating up smaller fellas this far. Having said that, I think I've said before, as much of a shit as Ryan Garcia is negotiating his fucking Golden Boy contract through his ma on YouTube, sending these one text saying he's bathing in tears because he's jealous that his other baby mama is fucking moving on, even though he's with this other one that he has pregnant. Now he's cheating on her. So all these things all bode well outside the ring. We could see the implosion of Ryan Garcia, but I think he's a fighter that's needed. I think we need him to come through against Luke Campbell and set up a big fight against Teofimo Lopez or Tank Davis, who he believes he has his number, by the way. He's played out how he's going to beat Davis via left hook.
No chance.
That's sugar. Yeah, well, that's what he says. So we need to see it rather than Luke Campbell upset the hype train. But if he does, I would give Luke Campbell all credit, and he will deserve it.
Quick one from you, Ozzy. My thoughts are Garcia is a better fighter than people give him credit for because he's a bit of a little dork. I think Luke Campbell will be a very tough fight for him. Wouldn't be surprised if Campbell wins. Do we need Garcia to win this fight for the prospects of the sport going forward? And also, Ozzy, God, I'm going to hit you with a few questions here. Do you think there's going to be any pressure on Garcia's shoulders, given the way Gervonta Davis spectacularly finished Santa Cruz? Because Garcia was tweeting out afterwards, wasn't he, trying to take a bit of the shine away? Do you think he'll be under pressure to put in a show-stopping performance?
I don't put any pressure on him. I don't think personally he needs to go out there and knock Luke Campbell out exactly like
the American public, the Instagram people types.
No, because I mean the fucking Instagram people don't have a fucking clue, like who half these people are, like all these, his fan base and things like that. There might be a little bit of pressure, but I don't think that should daunt him going into this fight whatsoever. I think it's a bit of a pick 'em fight, to be honest, and I've seen good arguments for both. I'm keen to see what the odds are, actually, because it's one of them with Garcia. I look at him and I just think, very, very young, very baby-faced, hasn't really fought the best, coming up. But then the way he destroyed that Fonseca earlier this year was impressive. And we've seen, like he's no mug. He can certainly take a shot at Fonseca. But again, his record's not great. And then we've seen with what's it called? We've seen with Luke Campbell. Again, he's like the Neely man, isn't he? He always falls short. Probably was nowhere near beating Lomachenko. Got outworked by even Mendy. Linares, for me, was a worthy winner against him as well. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. But for Garcia, I certainly don't think that he shouldn't feel any pressure, in my opinion. That's for sure. And I don't know why. The only pressure he'll put on himself. But just for a quick one on the odds, you've got Luke Campbell best price 7-5, and you've got Ryan Garcia at 4-7, 8-13. So from a boxing perspective, that's quite close actually. Garcia a favourite. But I certainly won't be ruling out Luke Campbell in this, and this is certainly winnable for him as well because that experience he's got, fuck the amateur stuff now, that's a long time ago, but even as a pro, the 3 losses, yes, the losses, but they always say you learn a hell of a lot from those losses. He's operated at a far superior level. It could well be a coming out fight for Garcia, or it could be a huge performance from Luke Campbell. We'll ultimately wait and see. When does this take place? What is the date on this?
It's a good question. I was just thinking that. Is it early December? Is it like the 5th or the 12th or something?
So we're still a little while off yet, about 5 weeks off yet, 4 or 5 weeks or something.
Just going to check it now, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it is. I think it's December, but I'm not sure when.
Yeah, 5th of December, yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So it's an interesting fight, that's for sure.
For the interim WBC World Lightweight title, I don't know what we need that for, friggin' arseholes. In the Fantasy Springs Casino, I always think that sounds like quite a nice place to be, Rob.
Wait. Interim WBC title.
Yeah.
The belt that has just been defended and won by Teofimo Lopez. And then isn't Devin Haney... Fuck's sake, why is the interim belt on the line when you've got fucking Haney's fighting? When is he fighting? Next week or something?
Haney's fighting next week, right, Ozzy, for the WBC World title against Yuriorkis Gamboa. This is for the interim title almost a month later for the interim of Haney's belt. Whereas Teofimo Lopez won the WBC, is it franchise title off Loma? Yeah. The franchise title, which wasn't supposed to leave the hands of somebody in the ring. So it's all getting a bit messy, isn't it?
Fuck's sake. What the fuck do we need an interim title for? I get, if there's an injury or something like that, or put them in champion in recess, but fuck me.
That's the point of an interim, Ozzy, isn't it? I mean, you're supposed to be holding on to keep things moving, not when they're fighting a month before the he's defending the title a month before the interim is being...
Yeah, and you can argue, regardless of what the interim is for, both fucking belts have been contested for in the past month.
I had to laugh when I heard Devin Haney say, y'all asked for the franchise champion. No, we fucking didn't, asshole. Nobody asked for the fucking franchise champion. That wasn't us. You fucking shithead. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Go into Haney, actually, in any respect, Ozzy, while we're at it. That's next week in Hollywood, Florida. Devin Haney, 24-0. I think he's fallen behind the pecking order, isn't he? They're talking a good game, but let's be realistic. He's never fought anybody worth a shit, has he, Haney, at the moment? We don't know how good he is. He seems like a decent prospect. He's a prospect for me, a contender. He hasn't won an official title yet. You've got Lopez looking good. Davis is looking damn good. Who's the other one? Ryan Garcia's fighting as well soon. Haney's probably falling behind Ozzy, I think, ahead of this Gamboa fight.
Yeah, massively, mate, massively. And he has fallen behind it. And it's like they keep talking up, Haney, we'll fight Lomachenko, we want Lopez, we'll fight this, we'll fight that. But why the fuck are you fighting Yuriorkis Gamboa? Fuck me. And again, he's another one that, he's trying to be built as this, this huge, this prospect. He's not even a prospect anymore, I'm sorry. I mean, he's a fucking Gmail champion, great, but I don't care about his age. This guy's contesting for world titles, rightly or wrongly, but he's no longer a prospect. And like I said, there's a reason why they're chucking him in with the likes of Yuriorkis Gamboa. And it's another one that Eduardo loves to say, we'll take that Lopez fight, we'll take that Lomachenko fight. He says this all the time, but nothing ever materialises whatsoever. And it'd be a right kick in the balls if Gamboa somehow rolled back the years and certainly turned over Haney. And look, Gamboa can take, look, I mean, Davis completely manhandled him. But it only took until the 12th to get him out of there. So, look, we don't know what sort of state Gamboa was even going to be in. He's 38 now. His last fight was this time last year again. It's not a great fight whatsoever. And the fact that this is contesting, look, by fact, the WBC world title is a bit of a travesty, to be honest. It's a bit of a travesty.
Absolutely is. Rob, feel free to jump in on Devin Haney, Yuriorkis, Gamboa, and Andy, if I'm not back in time, you can go after him, sir.
Well, I think it's an awful time for Devin Haney to be fighting Yuriorkis Gamboa, because Gamboa is the type of fella who can make it look bad even though he's past his peak. So Gamboa, as we all remember, was the fucking guy who never made it. There was high hopes on him. He was going to be the lightweight Rigondeaux. Didn't quite pan out for him, but his skill set is unquestioned. His ability is absolutely there. He's just a little bit flimsy with taking a punch. So unless Devin Haney goes out and flatlines Gamboa in 2 rounds, they're going to say Tank did it better. And even if he does flatline Gamboa in 2 rounds, they're going to say, well, it's Gamboa in 2020 off a knockout loss to Tank Davis, or whoever the fuck he's fought last, maybe Tank Davis. But I think it's kind of a shitty fight for Devin Haney, and I think it's right that he's number 4 in the pecking order. He hasn't done anything that the other 3 have done. Garcia is edging him on the fan base and the appeal to this point, but the email championships don't count to us. Like, we have eyes, we can read, we can see the fucking news headlines, and we know this fella hasn't beaten anyone, as good as he may be down the line. So he hasn't helped himself with some of his comments. I think he's been badly advised. I think he's a bit of a mope. I think Mayweather played with him by bringing him in to train him ahead of going back to being with Tank Davis to kind of psych him out a little bit, or use him as an emotional pawn. Sorry, the wind's taking off, so I'm going to jump off.
Yeah, I can agree with what Rob's saying there, actually. I mean, he's fought nobody yet. I mean, even at this point, I mean, you come out and basically shit on Lomachenko, right? After he gets beat off Lopez, saying, he ain't shit and stuff. Well, at the end of the day, at least Lopez stepped up and fought him. You spoke about fighting him, and then, you did nothing. You fought Alfredo Santiago over 12 rounds and won every round it. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never even heard of Alfredo Santiago. And then you're fighting Gamboa, who, to be honest with you, has been known to go to anti-aging clinics in Florida, possibly using PEDs, right? Fighting way above his optimal weight. He was a featherweight back in his prime, right? He's coming off ruptured Achilles surgery, right? And all of a sudden, Devin Haney saying, Lopez and me have got unfinished business. Garcia saying the same thing. Look, Haney needs to up it a bit here. Right? His resume is absolute trash. I mean, you can even look at the Juan Carlos Burgos victory. Again, a decent fighter, but he had his time about 5-6 years ago. Right? That's the type of an opponent you expect a guy coming up through the ranks and that to win and win it well. But that's 2-3 years ago, and yet we're still talking about guys like this. Is that a guy like Santiago and stuff like that? If you are what you say you are, step up and fight Lopez. That's what you got to do. After this fight, just get on the blow to Eddie Hearn, because Eddie's $1 billion man. He makes the moves happen. Just get on to Uncle Bob. Bob will make the fucking fight as well, I'm sure. But just so we know this, by the way, and I loathe myself for bringing this up. See, when it comes to, like, say, this fight possibly happening between Lopez and Haney, you just know there's going to be a fucking nightmare about A-sides and who deserves what percentage and all that sort of shit and stuff like that. End of the day, all roads lead through Lopez at 135, right? Haney's still got it all to prove. He's a good talent, right? But that's all it is at this point, a talent, right? Who hasn't fought anybody. So it's high time, Linares would be a great opponent for him to see where he's at. Linares could get taken out, he could get cut, he could fucking win rounds against him and really ask questions of Haney, because pretty much what I've seen of him anyway, he just has it kind of mostly his own way. So yeah, just a wee upstate in class, as I say. If he's not going to fight Davis next, or Lopez, or Loma for that matter, just to kind of throw his name in there and that. Then I want to see him kind of go for the winner between Garcia and Campbell, because that is a fight that could be easily made. I suppose DAZN, Linares, I think could possibly get made easily enough as well. But let's you need to pump the brakes, as I say. This fight does nothing for him. All it is, he's beating up a faded ex-world champion at featherweight who at one point gave Terence Crawford a hard time back, what was that, 4 years ago? It was a real entertaining fight and stuff, but that was it. And I says Davis struggled with him because he messed the weight up, and I says he ended up doing his Achilles and stuff like that. It's a nothing fight for me. And if he doesn't, I tell you what, if he doesn't stop him, actually, I think it would probably raise a wee bit of question mark for me as well, because I think he should be stopping like a Gamboa. And it's probably wrong to say because he's 21, but you're going to be telling people that you are a world champion these days. So fucking act like one. Take on the best fighters. And Gamboa isn't one of those best fighters. No lightweight anyway.
Exactly, well said, Andy. Yeah, Devin Haney fighting Gamboa next week. We shall be reviewing that on episode 398. This is 397 still. Smido's joined us. We'll be going to him shortly. Rapping Rob Kelly's on the call. Andy, Aussie Smith as well with me. Steve, coming to Andy for a brief word on Jaime Munguia. Just before we give a final shout out to our Patreon friends, starting with Steve Turton, Swaggy Taggy, Martin, the aforementioned Joe Kennedy, Ted Barrett. I haven't heard from Ted in a while. Hope you're keeping well out there. Danny Young was in the chat. James Bernard, Gav, David Doyle, Nathan Newman, Owen Spillane, Jasper, John Swan, Ryan, Real Deal, Jason Cheel, and the main man himself, Daniel Adams. Yeah, quick word on Jaime Munguia then, Andy. He's fun to watch. As the old saying goes, we all know about the Golovkin. Good job he wasn't put in against Golovkin. This kid's going to be blowing bubble by the time he's 40. Absolutely takes far too many shots. Saying that, at 35-0, I thought he tried to box off the back foot a little bit more than usual against Toriano Johnson. Johnson ended up with a horrific lip split in two, hanging off. I said in the chat earlier, I seem to be the only person who remembers this. Diego Corrales against Joel Casamayor. Corrales seemed to have a really bad split lip. I seem to remember Dr. Margaret Goodman from the Las Vegas Commission hovering around, stopping the fight. No footage of it out there. Maybe it never even happened. You might remember it, Andy. You definitely remember the Munguia one from the weekend. It was a bad one on Toriano.
Yeah, it was a bad one, right enough, mate. I mean, I don't know what it was. Johnson, I don't know if he kind of like shot his bolt and stuff, but he really put a lot of pressure on Munguia, who does look healthier. He looks thicker at middleweight and stuff, but sorry, but against like the bigger guys, and that, I think he's going to come a cropper at one point. He had struggling performances at 154. Again, part of that's probably weight related. Part of it is also related to the fact is that his team really wrung him out there at 154 with that title reign. They made it was something like 7 defenses in like 18 months or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It's pretty much unheard of these days, by the way, to be honest with you. So, I've got a bit of respect for him that way because he's made the weight each and every time. Okay, so some of the who was the guy's name that should have beat him? Was it the Irish boy?
Oh, Dennis Hogan.
Dennis Hogan, I think he got hosed against him and stuff. So, end of the day, he got the win. It was a bad cut at the end of the day, but I thought he had moments where he was really struggling with that pressure and stuff. And I think if even this Golovkin, Canelo, if he can make middleweight these days and stuff. But Derevchenko, dare I say it, Eubank, even Eubank, Liam Williams. Holy Christ, man! I think every one of the ads mentioned would absolutely destroy him. But he's also
Demetrius Andrade.
Well, I was just going to come to him actually because obviously Munguia's ranked 1 with the WBO at 160 because he had those title defenses at 154. So, but interesting to keep a wee eye out on the politics and that because Liam Williams, was that a final eliminator? He won a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, he dropped the British, hasn't he? Aussie now, I think.
He has, yeah. So he is officially the mandatory challenger.
However, right.
I think Munguia can.
He can trump
it. Because I think he was promoted as went up as 154 super champion. He can call a shot whenever he wants.
It's like Usyk at heavyweight.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem interested at the moment, does he? I mean, they're in talks now, Andrade and Williams. So I don't think Munguia wants anything to do with. I think he's hoping for basically a vacant shot more than anything. If Andrade goes up to goes up to 168. Will he just, will he take the fight against Williams, or who knows? What's he looking to do? Because surely you'd want, you'd take advantage of that opportunity and go, right, as Usyk's done, right, I want my shot now. But he's seemingly just not bothered. I don't know what Golden Boy's plan is with him, to be honest.
They need
I tell you what, right? I tell you what, that board decision to not sanction him versus Golovkin saved the life, because that's going back about 4 years, 5 years. No, maybe not 5 years, but around 3 or 4 years. Imagine Golovkin had got to him then. There would have been a death in the ring, and anything flies in Vegas. Like, so if the board said at that stage, we can't have that fight, what's that telling you about Jaime Munguia?
It was a dangerous one, but the uppercut, Andy, just closing out, that he caught Johnson with was an excellent shot. It really was.
Yeah, it was a really good shot, mate. I mean, as I said, I actually switched the second I seen the doctor come up and just like open up the lip, like the split part of it. I switched it off, man. That was revolting. I obviously I remember it happened. Was it Gatti against Gomez? I think it was. What was one of the last fights Gatti ever fought in that, and I remember him getting his lip split in that. Well, it's just horrible. I was watching the Rocky Marciano fighting. I think it might have been Richard Charles actually, and he got his nose split in two. It's incredible. I just like the nose is hanging off to one side. They actually put it back together for the fight with, I think it was glue and some tape and stuff like that, just to kind of get him through the fight. So yeah, it was horrible to see. Like, and just a quick mention, if I can, actually, on Elwin Soto, light flyweight WBO champ. Had it rough actually, kind of early doors against Carlos Buitrago, but in the end, kind of like the latter half of the fight, and that his youth and kind of like shone through. And that was like his fifth attempt. I think Buitrago's attempt at world title and that, but just a shout out as well. The 119-109 scorecard, absolute disgrace. It's absolutely shocking that Buitrago would never got any respect for like what he did in the early half of that fight. Just discussing scorecard again. So again, we had the shocking scorecards in the UK and in America and that. So it's not just Germany, as everybody likes to kind of like hark back to.
Indeed, the UK is the new UK when it comes to scorecards. Big young heavyweight prospects coming up next week. Frank Sanchez, the Cuban, going against Brian Howard on PBC. This young fella, Luis Ortiz, looks pretty good. He's going in against Alexander Flores, Carlos Negron as well, and Michael Polite Coffey going in against Joey Abel. Sounds a bit like AIDS on the eyes, that I might have to avoid it at all costs. Not going to avoid you though, Smido. You've jumped on this Sunday evening. How are you indeed?
I was good until I looked on when I logged on and saw the private chat, but we'll leave that for another day.
You snidey fucker, you've been passing out phone numbers, boy.
What goes around comes around. Rob Kelly's after me. I'm worried. I'm scared of Rob Kelly.
You should be.
He's got the IRA coming after you, boy.
Right next to each other, Smido here on the little blocks.
Yeah, he's after me.
Right, what's happening then, Smido? I'm sure we've had a bit of Devin Haney, a bit of Inoue, a bit of Usyk last night.
Did I get my what? Yeah?
Did you get your dolly back?
Yeah, I have. No, I just logged on and you was talking about that Haney situation where the WBC are going to have 3 lightweight world championship fights within 6 weeks or whatever it is. That's a bit of a joke. I said what I thought about Usyk and Chisora last night. It was pretty much as everyone expected, really. Nothing. There was no surprises, were they? I thought Chisora got off to a good start, an even better start than what I was expecting. He landed. I thought he landed some decent shots early, but yeah, as soon as he gassed, which was in the script, Usyk took over, got the job done. I think, as Andy said last night, and I definitely wanted, from a betting perspective, I would have hoped that Usyk would have put his foot down and got rid of Chisora. But when someone's marauding forward that much, and it was marauding in the first half, plodding in the second half, because when you're naturally on the back foot, there's not that many boxers that really generate enough power to really be stopping people in the tracks when they're going backwards. So yeah, I was expecting Chisora's face to be peppered from all angles in the second half of the fight. It didn't really come out that way, but interesting nonetheless. A good test for Usyk. The narrative has just gone completely out of control. in the last 24 hours really, and yeah, that's completely laughable. The pay-per-view was absolute dog shit, as we said before, and it actually got considerably worse since the last time we spoke on Sunday, because the esteemed Dave Allen came off, which was a big disappointment for me and all other members of this podcast, to see Dave not getting his opportunity under the bright lights once again. I think that Scottish lad, the newish signing, I think he tested positive as well. So we had a pay-per-view that was that had three female fights on there, and I think they had, going into last night, 29 bouts in total between the 6 fighters, 6 female fighters. So yeah, that says all you need to know.
Hold on,
about
Smido. Sorry to interrupt you. Is this a friend of the pod, Dale Nichols statistic? It sounds like it might be.
No, it's not a difficult statistic. I counted it up. There was one female making a debut, and there was one in a 5th fight, something like that. There was 20. I think there was 29 bouts between them. There's not many people talking out about this women's boxing at the moment. I mean, it doesn't interest me from a visual or sporting perspective. I just refuse to watch it. Women's violence doesn't do anything.
From a visual perspective, it's all right, Smido. You must admit.
Nah. But from away from that, all it is doing, and I've said this before, all it is doing is a cheap, quick, and easy way for Matchroom to prop up cards, particularly pay-per-view cards, with so-called world title fights.
Yes, I agree with that.
That last that Savannah Marshall fought last night had 10 losses or something like that. And he's fighting in a world title fight. We've got a world title fight in a couple of weeks. That Australian, that blonde one, in a 5th fight or something like that, is fighting for a world title. It's a complete joke.
I tell you what, Smido. It was interesting because halfway through the Tommy McCarthy fight, Andy Scott or Andy Clark, whatever you call that guy, was doing the commentary, and he said, "This is for a European title, but we're going up to world title action next when Savannah Marshall takes on Hannah Rankin."
I mean, and I might be wrong, but even that European title was the fake version, wasn't it? The EBU.
It was the real. The EBU is the real one. Yeah, it's the EU.
Okay,
that's the lesser one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, we're leaving the EU anyway, so yeah, up the Brexit. But I looked at the card last night. Like the top 6 male names, you could argue that Matchroom don't even promote. Like Usyk's his own fighter as far as I'm concerned. Chisora does his own thing. Selby's been and gone from Matchroom, come back, boring, gone to America, come back, blah, blah, blah. He fought an Australian, obviously not Matchroom affiliated. We've got a Belgium, and then that Tommy McCartney. I mean, he might technically be promoted by Matchroom, but I've pretty much never heard of him. And that's 20 quid. He was
friend of the pod there, Tommy. Apologies for all the times you came on the pod there. Smido's never heard of you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really interested in Irish boxing at all, to be honest. But I've just dropped that in. But no, I mean,
you will be when I get you. Look at this.
I know, yeah. Hey, and it won't be long now. You've got my address, Rob. It won't be long. I'm cheered. But yeah, no, I saw Inoue AI someone again, fantastic. That I've not watched it in full, but I've taped the Gervonta Davis fight. But that knockout, I mean, is completely sensational. Other than that, I mean, I can drop some hate if you want. I hope Porky's in the chat and listening along.
Oh no! Don't start that, for God's sake.
Go on, the pork.
Up the pork. We're gonna have to go on to Value of the Weeks now because it's going to be a long one. I'm sure you will all agree. Episode 397. Oh, we've done all that, haven't we? Let's forget about that. Let's get on to Value of the Weeks. Tony Bellew got a bit of stick last night, and he wasn't happy. He sent me in a WhatsApp earlier. Did old Tone? Let me see if I can bring it up for you to hear. Oh no, it's not that one. Pressing all the wrong buttons here. It's not very professional, is it? Yeah, Tony sent me in a WhatsApp earlier complaining. Let's play it now for you all. See what he had to say.
You and this boxing salon, whatever you're called, right? You see, you must be the most bored man on planet Earth, because what you do is you sit and talk about what the fuck I do. Remember this, right? What you talk about, I do. I do it. You talk about it. I do it. So that gives me the right to say whatever I want about what I do. It doesn't give you the right because you don't do it. Now, if you show me a video of you doing it and doing it at the level I do it at, then maybe you can have a say. But remember this. I fight, you watch. It's that simple. That's all it's about. I fight, you watch. No one gives a shit about what you say or what you do, but they give a shit about me because I fight, I don't watch. Simple as that. Your podcast isn't worth a carrot. I don't give a shit what you say, what you do. If you've got something to say to me, I'm not hard to find. I'm usually on the front row at boxing events. Come and say hello, or come and say to me what you'd say to me on your daft podcast. But remember this, I get more views with a fart than what you get with a 2-hour podcast. On that note,
Imagine waking up to that. A bit harsh from Turner.
See what I give you, Bellew. Give you one of them. Give you one of them, man.
Smido, you came in with a heated, intense beef, brutally honest, raw beef response to that, didn't you?
Yes. Available on YouTube. We'll put it in the chat shortly.
Will
I'm
be
going to
indeed.
put mine in the chat as well, Smido. Because you're getting it, man. 3 rounds.
You're muted, Smido. You carrot. Rob Kelly on the cider. Absolutely on this Sunday evening. Let's get on to Bellew of the Weeks then, shall we? Let's bring them up. First nomination, as I said, it's going to be a bit of a long one. First nomination comes in for Active Aussie, responding to Martin from New Age Boxing. Funny tweet, but if you can't afford £20, effectively a round of drinks on a Saturday night, then you need to be analysing your own life choices, not Eddie's. It's £20 for 5 or 6 hours of boxing. And just to be clear, this is the best Chisora has ever looked. Scott Law or Scott Shaw, somebody.
That's like the Anthony Fowler comment when he says, like, if you're poor or you're in poverty, that's your own fault. Honest to Christ.
Fowles keeping it real, like Derek trying to build up the pay-per-view Sky Sports Boxing. There really is only one Derek Chisora. And then what was that, Rob? Dead presidents or something you were saying there? Chisora was dressed as it.
Yeah, he's dressed as the. For all those in the chat saying I look homeless, I'm in my home, assholes. How do I look homeless?
Rob looking homeless in his house.
In my house.
You put the heating on there and took the half.
Shitheads, yeah. I'm only in from a walk. You fucking not heard me out in the wind 2 minutes ago. Shitheads. Yeah, no, he's dressed as one of the characters from Dead Presidents. So that's a movie about some fellas who come back from, some black guys who come back to LA from Vietnam and feel that the government is not looking after them and decide to go rob a bank, and they dress like that. So it was missed on a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on my timeline on Facebook saying that Derek Chisora was doing Chisora. I just came up with that myself right now. Saying that Chisora was doing whiteface, and if it was the other way around, Usyk wouldn't get away with it. And all this kind of capers. But I just thought it was like Del Boy saying I'm robbing the bank here, like, but he actually put in a way better performance than I thought he would have done.
Well done to Del Boy. Nomination from David Almond, all the same. Ricky Gravel, haven't seen him in the chat. He's hopefully not putting videos in the chat anyway. Nominated Lukey Boxing. Lukey says Usyk is a great fighter who has yet to have a fight I mark on my calendar and say I will watch this, and that isn't his fault either. Yeah, I think he is something a bit special with old Lukey there.
Chavez.
Where's Chavez? His home got burglarized. Is that even a thing? It sounds a bit painful, doesn't it? $750,000 in valuables taken. Declan Graffin, Andy, has nominated Port. $750,000 for me. He must have made some money.
Yeah, I read the article actually. So it's like they've actually nicked a safe that actually had. Did you hear this one? It actually had jewels in it, as in jewellery, and designer handbags. So remember? Fuck knows. I mean, listen again. It just shows you what. Apart from Floyd, who the fuck wants to have almost $750,000 worth of fucking jewellery? To what end? It's fucking pointless, man. Too much money, and as I say, I'm glad they got robbed. Actually, I'm glad they got robbed.
Because the fellas that said I'm homeless, I just took off my polo hoodie to reveal my other polo sweater in my big house. I'm with the money team, baby. All my cars are paid for.
Rob making some smart investments in his liver tonight. Bellew of the Week, a nomination from Tommy for Gordon, replying to Sky Sports Boxing, asking for the top 5 heavyweights. Number 1, AJ Joshua. Number 2, Fury. Number 3, White, because he'll beat Povetkov in the rematch. Number 4, Pavetkov. Number 5, Chisora. And Usyk up to number 5th if he wins on Saturday.
Yeah, but he's actually said AJ Joshua. You know, AJ the only person he's got right there is actually Fury, but he's in the wrong position, so he should be number 1. What a wank! Yeah.
Where's Deontology Wilder in the whole thing?
Oh no.
Good old deontology. Moving on swiftly. Is the Usyk versus Chisora pay-per-view fight, says Boxing Polls. Tim Waddy says, of course it is. Can moan about pay-per-views. These fights wouldn't happen without it. The fighters demand the money to fight, not the promoter, not Sky. It's the fighters who make a fight pay-per-view. There we are, 2020, everybody. Chisora ain't fighting unless he's on pay-per-view. David Allman nominating him for that one. Tim Waddy, I've got another screenshot of him there. One's probably enough. Matt Dobson Box Bet has nominated Eddie Hearn, saying we have too many belts. The UFC model, one promotional company and one belt. That's where I want to get to in boxing, putting a blueprint together. Yeah, sounds familiar, that one. He's pushing for UFC. Anyway, what about this then, Andy? Get yourself down to this. The Cambridge Union, the ballot for in-person tickets to see Eddie Hearn speak on the 27th of October closes. This notice for members only. Get down to the Cambridge Union to hear Eddie.
Yeah, I can't wait, mate. Going to get some life tips, you know, how to win at life and stuff, you know, how to earn. You know, and maybe do a Joe Gallagher, maybe call it some racism, and then maybe promote his book on YouTube. Great times, you know.
Adam Smith getting a bit too excited whenever Derek Chisora got stuck in. Oh, this is a good one from that I enjoyed. I screenshotted this one this week from DAZN. Beginning on the 1st of December, DAZN is launching in 200 plus countries and territories globally. With an initial monthly price of $1.99 or less, boxing fans will enjoy back-to-back weekends featuring Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell, Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev. Now, this is fur coat and no knickers stuff, this is. They're obviously targeting the UK fans, and they're trying to make out, aren't they, that Joshua Pulev is available to them when it's in the small, need a watchmaker's flipping glass to see, unavailable in the UK and Ireland. Fuck DAZN, I'll not be subscribing.
Yeah, $1.99 as well. Jesus Christ. Hey, listen, I take issue with Adam Abramovich actually gave me a hard time saying I wouldn't pay for that. Well, why the fuck should I? I mentioned it all last week. Why the fuck should I initially pay? There's another word that should be in inverted commas. Initially, $1.99 a month. You know I was going to be going up to £5, £10 within a matter of months. Yeah, I took issue with that. Like, I'm just fucking raging at that.
Yeah, Boz, Joshua will be on Sky Sports pay-per-view. That's the thing. The small print is saying that it's unavailable in UK and Ireland. So all these 200-odd countries or whatever will all get Joshua Pulev, but the UK won't because it's going to still be on Sky. That's what the small print. They're basically trying to spoof you. Marcus Bellinger has nominated Boxing on BT Sport for putting Roy Jones and Mike Tyson on pay-per-view. Here we are, Leon the Canteen. Was this from last? Oh, here we are, Ozzy. For those who doubted it, Lovejoy doubles down on it. White Rhino going to have £350 leaning on him on Saturday. Unfortunately, Ozzy didn't have £350 leaning down on him.
No, mate. No, he didn't. He might just think when he comes back, what will it be? Another 3 weeks? He might be up £380. He might binge eat, in disappointment. Just inject himself with, full fat cream and things like that. Then come back and take advantage of all that free food on the flights. Relax during fight week. And again, eat all those burgers, chips, sausage. The White Rhino might even have £380 of Christopher Lovejoy on him if they do share a ring in the coming weeks.
Certainly. Rhino versus Hippo coming on Eddie Hearn undercard soon. Mr. Boxing Casual, Greg, has nominated Chiz. Special delivery surprise from my sister, Eddie Hearn. Don't know you had a book out, son. Hashtag Eddie Hearn. Hashtag relentless. Terry has nominated Mike Tyson. Doesn't wear a mask during the hot boxing interviews, but wears one for a press conference over Teams. British Boxing Blog. This lad has just blocked us for respectfully pointing out we disagreed with Usyk's dodgy points, matchroom points win. Turns out he disagrees with him too. I haven't got quite the cut on that one, unfortunately, for the screen. But yeah, this fellow was disagreeing with him and then agreeing elsewhere and whatnot. There's Eddie Hearn as well. Without me, people wouldn't be talking about boxing, says Eddie. That was in the Financial Times there, Jay King. Good old Eddie.
What a fucking dickhead. Holy shit. Evening, Ed. Send us a copy of the book, man. We'll do a review on the pod some night when it gets quiet around Christmas. We'll do it chapter by chapter.
I'll personally get John Exshaw.
John Exshaw, I was going to say, yeah.
Well, as I call him, Exshaw, to do the fucking review for us.
I'll do the audio book for Smitho, man. He'll love it.
I'm from the asylum.
It's a splendid place.
Terry Woodfine shout out to Floyd this week on the pod, makes the whole build-up about him, dresses like a complete prat on fight night, wears a mask to the presser, takes it off to speak, leaves it off, then breaks the mic and has no idea how to fix it. It wouldn't be the same without Floyd knocking about here. We're into the meat and potatoes of it now, boys. Danny Young, another Bellew of the week for the main man. Bellew says Chisora outworked Usyk. Bellew says there would not have been too many complaints if Derek Chisora had been given the decision against Alexander Usyk. Oh dear. He's a front runner, isn't he? Joe Bacon as well here getting nominated. Watched without commentary. It was all one way. Chisora with at least 8 rounds. Usyk wasn't even landing half the punches he threw.
Is that his missus there, eh?
Maybe it is. Get him on the pod.
Get your hands up a wee bit.
I don't know if we can. Let's have a look here, shall we? No. I'm not lucky.
That's
oh, well, we tried.
That's
bringing home the bacon. Bringing home the Joe Bacon.
We need to get some super chat plugs here so we can actually enhance the graphics card here of Steve's computer so we can get this zoomed in a bit, you know.
Joe Bacon's a massive Porky's Court fan and he's had his name changed by default to Bacon.
Bacon getting fried. George Nader, Bellew of the Week contender. Leo is breathing, which is a good sign for the commentator last night.
Oh, that was, what's his name? What's his name again?
Well, every cloud. You know what I mean?
Was that the Channel 5 one who said that?
It was Ray. Is it no Ray Torres or Ray
Flores, my mate?
Ray Flores. I think it's Ray Flores. I think.
Did anyone watch the Showtime? I should have cut it. The Showtime feed. Al Bernstein, just as Leo was getting slept, he said something like, "If Gervonta Davis thinks that Leo Santa Cruz is going to fold this easily, he has another thing. Bang!" Right as he was saying it, man. Did you watch that version, Andy?
I never seen it, mate. I've seen the Channel 5.
I've seen it. It was literally in the process of saying the word power and stopped halfway through.
And then they all went quiet for about 30 seconds. Nobody knew what to say, did they?
Bellew of the Week as well for all the fucking amateur armchair Max Kellermans now who are saying he saw the 3 right hands coming and he made his mind up to throw that shot about a fraction of a second early. Some of that shit is just instinct and ring IQ, natural ring IQ, reacting on the spot. Like, it's not like he was fucking taking a scientific approach to ducking fucking 3 right hands in a row. Of course he's going to slip eventually. It's his natural instinct. Like, so I saw a fella today do a play-by-play of it and I nearly got sick of my mouth. It was such a fucking most self-indulgent fucking nonsense I ever saw in my life. But sorry, I digress.
Digression from Rob. He's having a great time tonight, aren't we all? Bellew of the Week for Gervonta Davis being defeated by a face mask. He was struggling. They should have just let the fucker talk. Stick face mask on later, stupid idiots. Welsh Ollie, Dave Caldwell just announced on a live Sky interview that he had Chisora winning. Case closed for Bellew of the Week. Well, maybe not. Eddie Hearn's jumping in here. 5-3 Chisora, but Usyk in full flow now. Rich Boxing Bets has nominated him. Another nomination from James for Tony Bellew about getting the decision. Guru as well, jumping in. Mr. Tommy himself, Tony, about to win his own award. No sign from the Guru just yet. Deontay Wilder as well. Who wanted to go in on this one? Was it you, Ozzy, going in on Deontay Wilder? Somebody wanted to.
Everyone.
Yeah, me. I want to go at that.
Go on, then.
Oh, it's just like, all these excuses that he's fucking making and stuff. I mean, what for example, right, he says the water was spiked. Breland was a snake and disloyal, right? His suit was too heavy, right? His legs were weak and all that sort of stuff. The gloves were loaded, right? He had a bicep injury. The ref was biased. He fucking long count in the first fight and stuff like that. I mean, do I need to go on? Do I really need to go on? I mean,
don't forget
top off the piano music. The piano music in the background just really sold it off. Like, I mean, that could have been Liberace coming back to life in that, like, fucking, like, Kim Kardashian's dad there recently,
Don't forget he said on Joe Rogan as well that he thought that Fury got brought back to life in the first fight by a gypsy curse. So, like, he's literally had every excuse in the book. He's just making himself look like a total dick, man. Like, and he's never getting that Fury fight now. Like, absolutely no chance.
You remember that Mr. Skinny, actually, who, after the first fight and stuff, he says, why the fuck are you fucking about with gypsies? That motherfucker told you what he was going to do to you, and he fucking did it. He says, and you're calling for a rematch. That just tells you one thing. Deontay Wilder is suicidal. He's suicidal after that fucking video.
But it's easy to come out now and make his video now that the fucking contract has expired. He wasn't so vocal about 6 months ago. Like, well, he was, I guess. He said the outfit was heavy and the fucking, as Andy said, his knees were weak and his palms were sweaty.
Mom spaghetti.
Jesus Christ. Have you ever known a heavyweight champion? Like, Fury definitely ruined his life. Punched him so hard he ended up twerking, and now he's coming out making statements like some kind of fucking. The only thing missing from that video was Floyd popping up selling double glazing at the end of it. Like, it was
horrific. I love a statement. You love a statement, though, don't you, Smido? Remember Gary Russell's videos and all that? So some of these people, I mean, they need a word in the ear, don't they? A bit of advice.
I don't know. He's just come out and made his situation worse, and it's just like beyond embarrassing.
I've counted at least 8 excuses that I rhymed off there. Actually, just off the top of my head. Right? There's going to be something else. It'll be the KKK next. Actually, Black Lives Matter will be fucking taking on.
Imagine how fucking stupid he is, though. Like, in his brain, that he's saying this shit, and there's no one around him saying, man, that might sound a bit mad if you say it like outside. You're trying to say like Ricky Hatton and Sugar Hill and Andy Lee both did the same shit with the gloves in some kind of attempt to bring down you because of history. You know what I mean? This sounds a little wacky, man. Are you sure you want to say it? Yes, I do. Cue up that piano. I have shit to say. There's stuff on my mind. You know what I mean? What the fuck is going on with this guy? Like, he's just covering himself in fucking criticism. And the boxing community are not going to take you seriously ever again. Like, you fucking can't believe you can't be serious, man. Like, come on.
It's very straightforward though for Deontay Wilder. Take the rematch, earn loads more money, and he could win that fight. He could win any fight. I would say he was unlikely to beat Tyson Fury, but he could win any fight. He's got the ultimate equalizer. I don't know. Like, it's just making his situation worse when it's very simple.
Wasn't it Fury who scuppered this? I haven't been following it, to be honest. Didn't he scupper it by saying he was going to take a fight in December when if he'd have waited till February or something?
They say the rematch clause expired and that it was supposed to happen by such a date, and then they got such amount of grace because of the COVID, and then that date expired and they couldn't make it. They wanted it at a date that was on American Football Day or whatever, right? So that fight's gone. But this guy, man, what makes it worse is that I don't mean to highlight this too much or whatever, but he's bought into that LDBC guy's conspiracy that the fucking gloves were loaded, and he's using that as an excuse. Like, if that's not the most pathetic thing a fighter's ever said, for a fella who his punching power, that as a man that could vaporize anybody, to come around, there's a phrase in Ireland: take your fucking baiting, and that's it. Learn from it and come on, like. But don't be coming out with this shit with the fucking Zoom background and the piano.
Yeah, nomination for Wilder. Having a great time. The LDBC. I'd love to join. They won't let me. Tyson Fury has been nominated, or Klitschko even, from David Almond. A bit of a back and forward. WBC. How would Vitaly Klitschko do in this heavyweight era? He was called Dr. Iron Fist, and here's why. Tyson Fury jumped in and said would have loved to kick his ass also. And Klitschko wasn't really holding back. He said, fans, sadly, it appears Tyson Fury is abusing substances again. History shows he goes off on the deep end with irrational, sexist, racial statements. Truth is, Klitschko and ass kick is fantasy for him. Klitschko and run, ran, or dodge the rematch is more accurate. Just say no, pal. No messing about from Big Vitaly there. Getting stuck straight in. Andy, that's all the ones I have. Quite a strong front runner. Any nominations from you?
Yeah, I got a couple. Dave Cobble, we've already mentioned that, and obviously the other ones that I had lined up, you've already mentioned that as well. But Smiddle will like this one and that as well. That Aussie card has been announced for mid-December actually. Tim Zoo. They've actually got Paul Gallen fighting on the undercard with chief support. Paul Gallen, who Smiddle will probably know better than that, but he's like, what is he, like late 30s? He's had a couple of pro fights and stuff, but he's been prone to throw some punches on the rugby field and that as well. So Just he's fighting like nobody. He's fighting absolute trash. Like
They've got a bit of a history in Australia for rugby players.
Sonny
Both
Bill Williams,
fighting in boxing. Yeah.
John Hopewarte, I remember the big heavyweight back in the
Anthony
day.
Mundine.
Mundine did very, very well considering he came from a rugby background. Yeah.
And the only one I've got actually was the one on Eddie Hearn wishing either Patrick or Patricia Keys happy birthday. You fell for that one, Edward. You fell for that one. That's all I've got, mate.
That's all the ones from Andy.
He delivered it in such nothing from me. On that Eddie one, he delivered it in such a positive and genuine manner. Like he really, someone said, "Can you wish happy birthday?" And he did come across like he really meant it. But yeah, he's been done.
Good lad, Eduardo. Ozzy, any from you? I know you have sent one on. I haven't got my phone with me, dude. If you're able to read that out, that would be very helpful.
Well, it's a picture. That's what it is. And it is of Tyrone McKenna, who has got himself a set of pyjamas emblazed with Coogan Cassius's face. So he's got a pair of pants and a top, and all of it is just covered in Coogan Cassius's face.
Oh, aye, sorry, I meant to mention Coogan, by the way. Spare a thought out that Coogan's struggling with his water bill this month. And Del Boy calling him out. I thought it was really good. That I will say this, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think Del was that wasn't a setup. I think Coogan went from being shocked to aggressive, i.e. swearing and stuff like that, to being passive aggressive. He was taken aback actually, and I think Del was being pretty genuine there actually. Spread the wealth, Because why is Boxing Social and Boxing News TV and Seconds Out? Why are they not getting the direct access and stuff? AAA access, shall we say? Coogan, evening, Edward.
Well, aren't we getting let into the bubble more to the point?
We used to. Until we just broke out and just basically called them out on the shite that we were doing. Yeah,
Exactly.
fuck the bubble, basically. Yeah.
Fuck the bubble. I don't know if that's on Twitter, Ozzy. I was looking it up. I couldn't find it. I'll try and get it out for next week. Any other nominations? I did ask you earlier. A quick word on Saul Farrow. We know he got robbed, Ozzy. Any updates from your friend?
No, I have been in contact with him. He's massively upset. Certainly wants the rematch. Felt he was robbed. He turned up into the fight in the best condition of his life. But the one thing I would say is that BoxRec haven't recognised the fight, so it's not gone on Farah's record. So that's a win for Farah. It's not tarnishing that record. So in my view, he should retain the Bolivian heavyweight title. He was jobbed on the cards. There is talk that he's going to have. They're going to build the fight, so I think Farah's going to come back against Cesar Mamani as a bit of a warm-up fight. And then the other guy who he boxed is going to fight Esteban Hillman Tabareri, and then they're going to get it on early next year. So, yeah, it's good to see that Mamani and Tabareri are keeping active and, getting opportunities. It's not as if, Farah's not fought Mamani before. But yeah, let's see it again next year. But disappointment for the big man. Disappointment. All that effort in camp, and he was robbed.
Disgusting scenes. Any nominations from you, Rob? I know you would have loved a bit of Floyd action this weekend.
Floyd just fuck off, man. I leave Gervonta Davis and let him be great by himself instead of trying to fucking take the limelight every time the kid has a fight. Because ultimately, I think this arrangement is going to backfire. I can't see this lasting into a long, successful partnership with Floyd hogging the limelight all the time. Eventually, people are going to say, to Gervonta, you don't want to be your own man. So, look, it is what it is. But him and the outfit, I thought he was dressed up for Halloween when I seen him. I genuinely thought, who's he dressed as? Is he doing Brother My Zone, as a nod to Baltimore for Gervonta Davis? Because he had the red bow tie, some fucking Ariana Grande glasses, and a red hat. One of the Golden Girls again, and a pair of suspenders to go with it. So I don't know what the fuck.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing if Gervonta actually ended Floyd like Omar Little got ended off that wee guy Kinneard.
Yeah, Snoop from The Wire fucking cheered him on.
And Bunk's going like that, motherfucker.
Fuck, what a show, man.
That's great.
Victor Loughlin last night for allowing Tommy McCarthy's opponent to call his own timeout to have a look at his eye
Yes.
in the middle of the fight. I've never seen anything. He should have stopped the fight right there. He allowed him to.
He turned his back on him.
Hold on a minute,
turned
lads. I'm
his
just
back.
going to put my
Hold on.
glasses on.
Hold on, the doctor comes in, doctor's checking his eye. No, yeah, he has two eyes. Yeah, boom. It went on like Tommy's looking around waiting for the fight to be stopped. If that fella had gone on the cards, man, what a fucking show it would have made of British boxing. Like Victor Loughlin goes to him then. If you do that again, Victor Loughlin goes, if you do that again, you're quitting. No, he was quitting that time, asshole. You're supposed to disqualify him. Like, what the fuck? Or qualify it off. Halling had an absolute nightmare on commentary, as I mentioned. The Andy Lee comments, Andy just went silent when he was like, of course, Andy, you weren't an Olympic gold medalist and a unified world champion, undisputed. He was just like, what? Just basically called Selby fight all wrong, I think, as far as the listeners are saying. So, but Halling, man, had an absolute fucking nightmare on his own commentary. But yeah, Victor Loughlin for allowing the guy to call his own timeout, that was quite bizarre. Like, and Bellew, by the way, have we mentioned Bellew for his fucking Chisora cheerleading? Fuck me, man. Come on.
We've mentioned that, all right. Also, fair play to Sky Sports. I thought they did a brilliant segment on the Black History Month. It was really, really good. It just seemed to be missing something, though.
And we are all set very shortly now for our top of the bill here tonight at the BT Sports studio. It is for the famous and historic British middleweight title. And before we get to talk about our main fight here, David, I think it is perhaps appropriate tonight that we just pause to mark Black History Month, most of all. And we discussed it today, and we thought it was actually right that we acknowledge that properly, and there's nobody better placed on our team to do that than Steve Bunt. So over to you for a moment, Steve.
Missed a trick there, Andy.
Yeah, missed a trick there, mate. Yeah, I listened. It was a really good segment, actually. I tweeted out about it last night, especially the part about Winston Churchill and stuff. He was the guy that stepped in and banned Jack Johnson from entering the UK to fight Bombardier Billy Wells. He was also, I don't know if he was Prime Minister at the time, but I think he was still Home Secretary. This is when battling Siki was light heavyweight champ, and he was banned from entering the UK. So, the UK's loss was Ireland's gain. Mike McTague beat Siki literally 6 weeks later, became light heavyweight champion in the world. So, it was just wee bits like that.
Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day, yep, 1927.
Go over, Andy, to Boxing News TV. Is that right? Where you've written an excellent piece on that fight.
Yeah, I did a wee bit on that. There was a copy of the fight going about. There was a wee copy going about somewhere in that, but I can't find it anywhere. But yeah, just we needed Bunce there last night to give him. There's only one person that could have done that, but I thought it was a really good piece by Sky. Actually, to be honest with you, I'd never. Johnny Nelson made it himself. He had no clue who that guy was. And I see Boxing Social got an article out today by Terry Dooley, so worth to go and have a wee read at that as well.
Coogan will probably get an exclusive with him.
Well, mate, to be honest, you and Rob will ken as well. Obviously, being over in Ireland, I mean, I've seen it here, and Ozzy and Smithers probably seen it himself doing in England. That see when you go down to the gyms, stuff like that. There's especially up in Scotland, and probably definitely in Ireland. I know for a fact. No sectarianism. There's no drugs. There's no alcohol. You will respect every fucking person, regardless of religion, colour, or creed, that enters the fucking ring, the gym, or comes in for any sort of training. You respect that person regardless of weight, or if you're professional, or you're an amateur, or a fucking just a bum. Right? Everybody gets treated the fucking same. And in my experiences in gyms and stuff like that, it's always been like that. Boxing has always been like that.
And I'd say, right, to add on to that, where we're on Mike McTeague, Battle at Psyche, and I know this is niche stuff for a lot of listeners, but that permeated down the respect for Psyche, because my dad was telling me all about Psyche going around with the tiger and all that, like on a chain. Like he's, he made an impact over here from his performance in the fight and all that. Like, so that, went down generations and stuff. Like, so, I don't know where the fuck I was going with that, by the way, but yeah, to echo your point, like the respect thing is a major factor. Like,
well said, lads. Perfect stuff for Bellew of the Week. Right, who are we going for this week then, Ozzy?
going to be us. Who's it going to be?
Well, he's a fucking assassin.
The man who doesn't want to be, he wants to be ignored. He doesn't want to be seen anymore. Anthony Bellew, without a doubt.
It's got to be Andy. I'm going for the main man himself as well. He's been keeping a low profile since he retired back in 2018, but he's back with a bang.
Not just that, mate. I see he's also got his interview coming out shortly with Trish Dixon's Boxing Life Stories.
We're all on the edge of our seats for that. We've hardly heard from him over the last while.
We have got plenty of Tony Bellew to come still, so leave him alone. Eddie pushed him close second with Patricia and Patrick Keys. Happy birthday wish. Deontay Wilder, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. As I says, eight excuses. He's got Liberace playing the piano. It's incredible. But Tony Bellew, man, him and Eddie must have been passing a bottle of vodka about the last, because Eddie had roughly about the same scorecard. It was so nice that Eddie somehow, I saw that draw, and then you got Tony saying, "Well, Tony thinks Dell should have shaded that," but then you then go, he has to come out and credit himself, but you then got Dave Caldwell saying the same thing. I thought Dell won that fight, then come out literally 5 minutes after tweeting it saying, "Well, I might have got that wrong." So did he go and rewatch that fight in 5 minutes? And then
it was the backlash. They're all mates, aren't they?
He's trying to walk it back. Then he walk it back on your fucking prediction. If you think he won it, just fucking tell us he won it and stand by it. Then he fucking walk it back. It can happen. It can happen sometimes that you see a fight. Oh well, first glance, I was tight. You go back and watch it again. Like, see Kawasaki Hopkins, for example, close fight. You go back and watch it. It might have Kawasaki winning it. It might have Hopkins winning it, for example.
Yeah.
But
that's not what's happened here, though.
That's not exactly.
No.
That's Usyk won the fight clearly. He was tested, he was pushed at times, but he clearly won the fight. That's simple. And look, I like Dell. Dell's been good value from time to time. He hasn't been like tremendous. He's never won a world title. But you need to remember as well, is for the entertainment he's put up, he's also put up some fucking shit performances in that as well. So this is a wee bit of rewriting the history and stuff like that. And we've all got our favourites and stuff. But just call it as you see it. You've been employed to call a fight in a neutral manner. But as we keep mentioning about Sky, and that's jobs for the boys. It's all pals, playing cricket, playing chess, all that type of stuff. They're in the bubble together and that. It's all about the bants. All about pals act and stuff like that. It needs to stop. Just stop and go back to get Dempsey back to fucking anchor. We see he would ask proper questions and that, regardless of what you think about about him sometimes, but if he would ask proper questions, he would stir the pot.
They don't want that though, otherwise they'd get it. If they wanted that, they could take it. They could put people in who would do that. They don't want that.
You get Dempsey, I think Froch. See if you just get Froch with the right person, I think Froch would be totally different, because he breaks away from like okay, he's earned his money that, but to me sometimes Froch can come across pretty well. And he scores even rounds, and you think he's a wanker, but Macklin
4 even rounds in a row, by the way.
I know.
Right, Smido, who are you going for?
Yeah, I'm voting for Bellew. I just think like there was a on the preview show last week that aired on Sky Sports News. They had a small 3-man panel: Tony Bellew, Chisora's best mate in boxing; David A, Chisora's actual manager, and Bean. Where what does the person viewing that, what are they going to gain from watching that? Even a casual that's is still to be persuaded to buy the pay-per-view, what are they going to gain from that? Because no one's telling us the truth that how good Usyk is. You could be seeing it should really have been sold as AJ's potential next opponent, gold medalist with the first cruiserweight to hold all 4 or 5 belts, whatever it was. But you're not getting, like you've said, Steve. There's no problem with it being a little bit of the fans or the fanboys on there, but you need it balanced. I saw the Usyk and Bellew fight was being replayed on Sky the other day. Paulie Malignaggi was on that broadcast, and I've said before, I think he's good in the British setting. I know he's got other things on, but you just miss him. I think it was at the end of the 4th round, and there was all 3 of them, Hay and Bean and whoever, tried to give it to Bellew, and Malignaggi butted in and said that was a Usyk round, guys, and that kind of like stopped the conversation in its tracks. I won't go on too much, but yeah, definitely Bellew.
Bob, It's going to be a clean sweep. Although I did like your Floyd nomination, especially comparing Floyd to one of the Golden Girls. But who are you going for?
Oh, it's got to be Wilder, man. Fucking hell. Are we ignoring Wilder? I mean, Bellew, it's expected. He's the one that predicted Chisora in the run-up. But Deontay Wilder to come out now and make a statement with the musical backdrop and the fucking edited in shitty fucking pen pixel background that he had, along with some quotes from the Bible as well. Like, what the fuck is going on? Deontay Wilder, Jesus Christ, any credibility he ever had. Shannon Briggs had it right. Beyonce Wilder. I was surprised there wasn't some choreography going on in the background, like bit of twerking and that, like just to fucking make it, to hammer the point home. That was shocking from Deontay Wilder, man. Fuck me. Yeah, so Wilder for me this week, even if Bellew wins it, that has to be that's one that's taking some beating, man. Fuck me.
We'll give Wilder the interim title maybe and give Bellew the full WBC. Congratulations, Tony Bellew, Bellew of the Week, winning your own award for episode 397. Okay, boys, I think they'll do it for the evening. Excuse me, we've put in a good solid 2.5 hours plus another hour last night. If you like what you're hearing, keep us ad-free, sponsor-free. Go to patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Show us a bit of love, why not? Tight on the old super chat, so you might as well go over to Patreon and join us over there. Thanks to Ozzy, as always, for jumping on this evening. Adam Smido Smith, delighted to have you on, Smido. Have you had a good time?
Yeah, I mean, it's just good to hear from Rob Kelly, so I just, want to keep an eye on him, make sure he's safe.
Please?
I'm going to tell you, I was only joking with the lads, by the way, about the house. God bless everybody that has a roof over their head. COVID times and all that. We're only trying to have a bit of crack on the lockdown, but hopefully Smitho gets his dolly back anyway from the asylum.
Well done, Rapping Will Kenny there, sending out a message of peace and love. Unless we don't like you, buckle up, pull the coat in. It's going to be a cold one, Andy Patterson as well. Jumping on with us. Thanks very much to everybody in the chat. Jason Chukwu, Wellings, give me a shout out. Sorry, Jason, can't give you a shout out tonight. You're on a shift. Don't want to get you the sack now. Thank you to George Fox as well for jumping on. I thought George spoke really, really well. Best of luck to him in his career going forward. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place next week for episode 398. I've been Steve Wellings. Catch you all again soon. Bye.